Welcome to episode 4 of Both Down, the number one Blood Bowl podcast
in Southern Nagrith.
This is Steve, and with me as always is my co-host Scott, or as some people know him,
Scott Prime. Howdy, primates.
How you doing today?
Doing good, Steve. How you doing?
So far, so good. What do we got today for the show-wise?
Well, we've had a busy month following up from last episode in Oklahoma Bowl. We're going to talk about some going to Bugman's Bowl.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about we're going to have a homebrew segment.
And then we have a very special interview.
We do have a very special interview.
We finally figured out how to do it.
I think we've always known. We just now got brave enough to do an interview. So, yeah, we're going to.
We haven't always known, but, yeah, we know how now.
Shh, don't tell them that.
We're brilliant. We know how to do everything.
Yeah, so we're going to cover that in our Behind the Fluff.
With Zlurpcast's Jonny P. talking about his love of the fluff.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how we have changed Jonny P's opinion on Blood Bowl.
Hopefully we're changing a lot of people's opinions.
Oh, I think we are.
As we have.
I think we are pushing a change, or at least pushing people to be motivated in the right direction. So,
towards the fluff, which is always the right direction.
Is it?
I would hope so.
I think so. Like I said, we're going to talk some tournament talk. Bugman's Bowl was just last week, and we traveled down. We will go into more detail round by round and what we did and the other people that went with us did.
Well, I guess we might as well just get this started. First segment coming up, Homebrew. Ready?
Let's do it.
Go.
Both Down is brought to you by Wizards Asylum, your premier source for comics and games in Norman, Oklahoma. Check them out online at wizards-games.com.
Hi there, this is world-famous halfling Perky Bacon Breath, and you're listening to Both Down, the number one Blood Bowl podcast hosted by bacon lovers. It's time for some homebrew. Wait, homebrew? Can I have some?
All right, welcome back to Homebrew, the section of our podcast where we try to talk about the fluff, or maybe give you some fluff ideas or house rules that we use in our own Blood Bowl league, and or have used at one point. And so, what is the subject today, Steve?
Today we're going to be looking at how to bring the fluff into your league, because people have been responding positively to the fluff idea, and a lot of people don't know how to. You put all that time and effort into a team, you got a backstory, you play someone, and then what? And we're just going to kind of go over a few different things that we have done or seen other people do, or just ideas in general.
First thing we do, and I'm sure most of you guys do, is, have maybe a website or a forum of some sort. To be quite honest, we don't have just a website for our Dragonfire Blood Bowl League. We do have a forum, and it's a free forum. It's on Delphi Forums, and you can look up the Dragonfire Blood Bowl League on there, and you can actually see us bantering back and forth with each other, or if we talk about maybe, hey, let's get together and schedule this game, or if you're like me and Steve and a few other people, we'll get on there and talk in character as like, oh, this player just had an interview. I believe the last interview was with Action Jackson from your Campbell Claymores, who vows to break the touchdown record.
And if you do happen to track it down and find it, we haven't been on there much lately because we've been emailing each other back and forth the trash talk. So don't look at it as being empty. You're just not seeing the really bad stuff. But also on the forum, it's a good way for us to look at league standings and league leaders and matchups. So I've got the front page all decked out.
And I know there's a lot of people out there, and you're going to have to forgive me because I don't know where they're getting the software, but there's this database out there that a lot of leagues use. I see it a lot of times in the Australian leagues and the European leagues, and even some local guys here have the same type of software, the framework where it tells you to, what that league's house rule is. It's all database. You can go look at the roster. You can click on the individual person and see a picture. and where they can actually write, their flavor or fluff or backstory in there. And that program's great.
It's really nice.
And that is something that we might look into if we get a few more guys in our league.
We would need a lot more people in our league.
Currently, what we do, and for our small league, what we do right now with the Delphi forums, with Steve keeping up to date the front page and stuff, works great for us.
And if you do want to check it out, I believe it's forums.delphiforums.com/DBBL for Dragonfire Blood Bowl League.
Right, or you can search Dragonfire. That's with a Y,
probably, yeah,
not an I in Dragonfire. So, that's one of the first things you can do. I know the people. I don't know who the people are that make that database for the other leagues, but I know it's available for like a donation or
it's pretty
a small
common
purchase and stuff.
You do have to buy it. It's if the Blood Bowl community up in Tulsa use it, and they're really fond of it. But of course, it does cost.
Tulsa being a city 2 hours away from Oklahoma City, where we're at.
Oh yeah, I guess.
For people who are not familiar with Oklahoma and the states,
very true. But yes, they are very fond of it, and a lot of people use it, and it is great software. It allows you to put backstory in and all that stuff. But
keeps all your stats.
That's not always an option for someone. If you have a smaller league, or if you don't want to pay the fee, or if you just want to do something on your own, there's always that too.
That's right. And also another suggestion is newsletters. And
definitely adds a lot of fun.
Adds a tremendous amount of fun. And just a backstory, back when me and my buddies, and you've heard the story about how we played in second edition with all the teams, there was a couple of us that liked to draw. And, you heard about Blood Bowl being sponsored by Bloodweiser. So we heard, Bloodweiser Illustrated and stuff. So we actually created our own little magazine where we would draw a picture of a highlight, a catcher jumping up in the air with an orc trying to tackle him or something. And then we'd write a little article about a certain player and what he did and what he accomplished that game. And it was a lot of fun because it was an outlet for us to draw and be creative and at the same time archive our league. And, of course, we didn't have internet 20-something years ago. If it was out there, we didn't have it like we do today. So this allowed us to really keep track of our leagues and, cool plays that happened, and just it was awesome,
And it adds to the fluff and the feeling of the game and the fun of it.
Right, and you got to actually see what this guy looked like versus this guy. Mm-hmm. And it was great. So today in our modern league that we're playing as adults, we had a guy out of nowhere create Sarge Tate. He plays in our Blood Bowl league and has since the first league. That guy came up with what he calls Dragonfire Weekly. And it's also on Delphi forums, so you can look back and see those different weeks and stuff. And it's brilliant. It's a short, tiny, I say short, it's only like a page long, but it has so much flavor inside of it that you read this thing and you're ready to play Blood Bowl.
Absolutely.
If you got Blood Bowl fatigue and you lost 4 games in a row and you're just kind of needing a break and you read this, you go, man, I am ready to play Blood Bowl. And so I got it here, just right down here. I kind of jotted some notes down. And it's really simple. His Dragonfire Weekly opens up with an editor's note from the editor-in-chief, Al Michaels. And, of course, he spells it different, but it is a play on, Al Michaels, the old Monday Night Football guy. And then he has different sections. He has a ye old 16 questions with Micah Silversmith, who's a little halfling guy. And he gives his opinions on the league. He ranks all the teams, and usually he puts some puns in there as well.
He does love the puns.
So, like he'll, for example...
But we all do. So.
This is our current week of Dragonfire Weekly in our season. And, rank number 1, the Campbell Claymores. And then he'll have a little line that says, after slowing down dramatically, can Axton Jackson still hit the touchdown record this year? And then it'll go on to the next team. And every one of these kind of ends in a question. That's where you get ye old 16 questions. And then he has a section where our man, and you probably heard him on the Oklahoma Bowl commercials, Harry Badsaw, gives his predictions. So this guy takes a character from the Blood Bowl universe, and he makes predictions on each games, and he keeps a track of his record, and he'll bitch and moan and complain, when something doesn't go his way. And it's great because then, the joke is we don't want Harry Badsaw to pick us to win because for the first couple of seasons he didn't have such a great record picking winners. Now he's kind of bounced back and, he wins more than he loses. But
he also, Sarge actually puts a lot of effort into looking at records, looking at matchups, and
right. He
takes it seriously.
Yeah, he'll get the rosters out, or he'll email me and say I didn't get these last 2 rosters in, so I can't finish up Dragonfire Weekly. So he takes this upon himself every season week to create this in his own time, and I'm sure it doesn't take him long because he's more of a writer than me.
It still takes him a couple hours though.
But it would take me a day and a half is what I'm kind of getting at. So this is not Bloodweiser Illustrated like me and my friends did 20 years ago, but this is even so much better because my mind creates the story to all these things. And everybody loves seeing where their team's ranked and will bitch and moan and say, why did you rank me 3? And he'll say, because you tied halflings. And, it's a challenge. Like, I'll show you. I'll make the playoffs and I'll win the whole thing. And
there's a lot of examples of other people doing the same thing. There are people out there who do twice as much, people out there who do just a little bit. But anything you do that can bring people into, I guess, sort of the pseudo-universe that your league is in, is a good way of saying it, helps. Because, of course, we all know that Blood Bowl is in its own universe. It's a nice, tidy little universe where these teams compete. Well, inside of those are all of our universes. We've got our Dragonfire little patch of the Blood Bowl universe. And inside of that, we've got all these teams running around. We've got all these lands that they hail from. And we've got rivalries. And we've got an email from one of our listeners talking about the different rivalries that they do. If, say, a halfling team is going up against another halfling team, it'll be called the Halfling Cup or Halfling Bowl or something like that. Mm-hmm. And, you can build up that type of flavor.
Well, yeah, when I make up the schedule, if it's possible and there's 2 stunty teams, and, with our league that only has 12 to 14 teams, usually about 2 stunty teams is all we're going to get. I always make sure on the schedule, because we act like this is American football, so we have a Monday night football game. Even though you can play your games at any time, it still adds to it, because on our Delphi forums, Steve will write up a little blurb and really build up the Monday night game. And I always try to, if there's 2 stunty teams playing each other, I make that the Monday night game, which Steve has to rack his brain because it's in the middle of the season and both teams are 1 and 3
both suck
or 0 and 4, and he's got to make
it sound exciting. Why was this game chosen? I got to get the viewers to watch it. So.
Exactly, and it's really fun watching Steve do that too. So it's really great. I mean, and it adds the fun to it. And even Sarge on his Dragonfire Weekly, when it comes closer to playoff time, he'll do countdown to playoff section where he'll talk about the teams. This team's locked into a playoff spot, and mathematically this team, if they lose, they're out of the playoffs. And that actually helps some guys out because they kind of wondered where they were, and mathematically did they still have a chance to keep playing. So they can read this newsletter and they go, well, crap, I didn't realize I was out of it. Or, crap, I didn't realize I still had a chance. I just got to win my next 3 games. Well, good luck on that, And
another fun thing to do is, of course we know it's a real league and Scott's the true commissioner. But in the Dragonfire universe, it has its own Dragonfire commissioner.
Yeah, Kohler Oakenshield.
Yeah. So there was a situation, I believe, earlier this season where a dwarf player or a dwarf coach, he's not really a dwarf, but he coaches dwarves.
He coaches dwarves.
He was misinformed as to the speed of the dwarves. How'd that work out?
We can say his name, Brian. He's playing dwarves. He's never played dwarves before. He took the standard chart I have to make rosters, which starts off with just the standard 6, 3, 3, 8, I think, stat line. Well, the 6 never got changed on his dwarf lineman. So he had these really fast dwarves. And, we played our preseason game, our preseason tournament, and Brian won the Alcorn Cup with them. And
we probably should have caught it, but none of us really looked.
Nobody caught it. I never played him, so I didn't see it firsthand. And since I'm the only guy that's played dwarves before, we had another guy that played, but he no longer plays in the league. I might have been the only guy pick up when he moved him 6 and go, hey, what did you do? Did you just go for it twice? And nobody caught it. And, nobody in our league tries to cheat. So we wouldn't think malicious anyways. But anyways, he won the tournament. We couldn't go back and replay that tournament. It wasn't fair to anybody. He didn't do it on purpose. Nobody else caught him. It was an honest mistake. So I sent out a big letter and
from the commissioner.
And I didn't actually notice this until the first game of the regular season. It was after the first game of the regular season I was doing stats, and I was like, whoa, wait a second. These guys have 6 movements. So the commissioner sent out a letter in our Delphi forums to everybody talking about how there's a ban now on, Magic. I think it was Magic sandals or something like that. Magic boots. The dwarf team is no longer allowed to do this. But since in our fluff and our flavor of our league, our commissioner is a dwarf. So I took the angle of he's mad that these guys were cheating in the fluff.
But he's more mad that they got caught.
He's more mad that they got caught. And that's why I just justified that we're going to keep all the records are going to stand. We're not going to go back and change it. We're just going to look forward and move on. And so it added that great kind of corrupt feel to the Blood Bowl universe and league. And, really
because realistically it didn't mean anything, and there's no reason to penalize him for it. So we just kind of said, okay, well, that's how it is. So let's move on.
Exactly.
And this gave us a way to do that.
Yeah, and it was really fun. It was a fun approach, and you can do these same things in your league. I mean, one thing that we don't have down in our show notes here, Steve, but something I thought of is people talk all the time about them being the coach. And I realize when you go to tournaments, you fill in your name as your coach or whatever, although I never do that. I always make a guy the coach. I actually name my coach for my team something other than myself because, flavor-wise, I'm not really coaching that team. I don't exist in the Blood Bowl universe. So I always try to actually have a real coach then. And, even at times, and we've done this a very few times in our own Blood Bowl league, if somebody has taken over a new team or maybe take a different approach or had a bad streak of games, we have guys that say, hey, I'm going to fire my coach. And they'll fire their coach, and we'll make a write-up of it. And sure, it's silly. It makes no real sense.
It makes you feel better, though.
But it sure adds some drama to it. And what's funny is a few times that's happened, the team has actually changed their luck somehow. Like they've done better. Maybe they were losing all their games, and then they went 500. They won as many as they lost. One team, a guy just he just didn't have time to finish his season with his Dark Elf team. So he's like, I'm going to bow out if somebody can take over. So as a commissioner, I took over. Well, I fired the coach immediately, and I assigned a new coach. I found a Dark Elf name generator, put my name in, and tried to get something similar out of there. And so I became that coach. Well, as a commissioner, I had to operate this team like it was him, going all out to try to win games. Well, we went undefeated under my tutelage. And so it made some of the guys in the league mad, but the new coach, man, he was bloodthirsty, and it was just a fun element. We've had guys that just get rid of a player for no reason just because, this guy plays bad. He's cursed, and it's great.
Yeah, and it's just, like we've said, it's just a little bit of fun, a little bit of fluff. Anything you can do to add to that is always great. Some people go the extra mile and actually write a lot of fluff. What was that, the Blitz magazine that came out?
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit of that, in the shout-outs later. But, yeah, the Blitz magazine has tons of stuff in there.
Ton of content. And it's actually true news about Blood Bowl. It's about models, it's about World Cup and all this. But there's also fan fiction in there, and it's just fun to read. And they gave us a shout-out, so we'll give them a shout-out.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
And since they thought we were from...
They thought we were from Canada.
Right. So, obviously, this is coming from New Zealand.
Is this?
No, it's from Australia. But we're going to say it's from New Zealand.
No, we're not going to take them off. That was an honest mistake.
I know. We'll just give them a hard time.
We got into a lot of banter with, I think, Tristan and stuff at the time, and I can see where that came from.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
No, we appreciate the shout-out from Blitz Magazine, and later on I'll give out the email, or not the email, the website for that. So
might as well do it now while people are listening.
Well, then now I have to dig through my notes. Blitz Magazine, you can find that. The website here is rather long, so I will post this on our when
Realistically,
I post
just go to blitz.osbold.com, right?
Well, I actually found the link to it through bloodbowlmayhem.blogspot.com, and then you can look up Blitz, or you can go slash 2012/01/ Blitz3 HTML, which
they don't care.
rather long.
It's just go to osbold.com.
Just go to bothdown.com.
Yes.
And I will link it there, and you can go see it. It is
or Google. Google's a very good
It's
resource.
like a 120 pages long magazine.
It's insane.
The guys put in a ton of work. There's
It's got
tons
great
of
art.
Great artwork. They put the magazine together great. Go download it. It's a pretty big PDF file. It's like 25 megs
Very
or
big,
more.
but it's awesome.
Even if you just go through there and look at the pictures, I know it sounds silly because since they put in a lot of work with tournament coverage and stuff, go check that out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really awesome.
And again, that whole concept of another way to spread the fun of the fluff.
That's right. So just remember, simple things like newsletters, websites. You can get free news. You can do all this on free forums if you want. If we're doing it on Delphi forums, anybody can. So.
Yeah. I mean, I have no HTML knowledge, really. I just copy and paste.
But you look pretty good. You do pretty good. Yeah. Steve knows enough to put our little team icons in there so the standings will change. It's pretty awesome. So there you go. And I think that wraps up Homebrew.
Yeah, don't have a whole lot about this one this week. We'll have a bigger section maybe next week. But for right now.
Or next month.
Or
however they're listening to this, if they're catching up.
That's
it
true.
Could be week by week or day by day.
Yeah, if this is the first time you're listening, go back and listen to the other ones because we do a better job there.
All right, guys, we're going to take a little quick break here. We're going to come back with Behind the Fluff. This is Morgan Thorg, Ogre Blocker for the Chaos All-Stars. You are listening to Both Down with Steve and Scott. Now, Morg presents Behind the Fluff. Welcome to Both Down's first ever interview. Today we got Jonny P from the Zlurpcast. Welcome, Jonny.
What up, Sean? What's going on, Both Downers?
Not much.
You like that, Both Downers, or no?
I like it. It's better than Jackasses. I mean,
did you guys have like another, kind of alias set up, like like someone could say Zlurpcasters for us? Both Downers, is that okay?
Sure.
That's as good as it's probably going to get. So, Jonny, we got you on here because, we have, changed
your life.
Your life. We've cleansed your soul. You're a newborn man now in Blood Bowl. You came from the background of teams like Liz in My Pants and other type of what I joke as horse racing team names to now you care and you're giving back and you just love Blood Bowl so much. You want to create fluff and history for your teams. Is that all true?
Yeah, that is all true. Just to give you a little bit of background, I've been playing Blood Bowl off and on since junior high, like 2nd edition. And then as it moved to 3rd edition, which is pretty much the basis of the game we still play today, we started a league in 1996 called the Old World Football League, the Awful League. And we've ran a league every single year, like long leagues, like 6 months long usually, and every year up until 2003. So I used to be way into that aspect of it, the idea of I've got this team, I'm going to have a cool background, I'm going to get attached to the players, it's going to be very hard to cut someone, or if they get injured, and you get very attached to it. And then, different things happen, people get different jobs and families and whatever, so then the league starts to become every 2 weeks instead of every week. Or it's every 2 weeks, but people miss every now and then. And it kind of lost its, I don't know. For me, the leagues have lost its magic, and it's been lost for like a good 8 years now.
Well, I'm proud of you guys for that transition between 2nd edition and 3rd edition. For my friends, was just like they didn't want to go to it.
Was it a completely different game at that point?
It was completely different. The block dice, you didn't add strength versus strength for blocks, and you lost some of the charts for the blocks and the tackles and stuff like that. My friends just couldn't handle it. It was just too much change, and so I dropped out too for a while of playing 3rd edition up for probably almost 10 years.
In our case, it wasn't that hard of a transition because it wasn't even the same people. It was me and my brother and a few other guys playing 2nd edition, and then when we went to 3rd, it was just me and my brother and new guys, like people we worked with, people whatever. And so it wasn't too bad for them. It was a brand new game, and really for everybody, it was a brand new game. I mean, right off the bat, you have block dice telling you what's what. That's right off the bat. That's a completely different game.
I look back now, and I can't believe at first was having troubles accepting 3rd edition because the game overall is so much better than 2nd edition. It's ridiculous.
I've gone back and I own all the copies of the editions now, and just looking at those old rules, it's like I don't even understand what's going on here.
Yeah, it's like you look back, it's like, what's a comm level? Remember that catchers had comm level? Why don't you call it catching?
It was cool.
What? Oh, was it cool? I remember reading once. I thought it was comm level.
It was CL on the stat sheet, so I thought that was cool. I could be wrong on that. You had throwing skill and cool, I thought.
Maybe comm level is British for cool.
Well, I mean, they have nerves of steel on some of them now.
Right.
Which is sort of the same thing. Keeping cool, keeping calm.
Yeah, well,
it might have been calm, yeah. I don't know.
One of the biggest ones is the fact that everything was based on modifiers too, right? And you had like Mighty Blow level 1, 2, and each of them added stuff.
That's right.
Now it's just kind of like you either got the skill or you don't.
Right, and it is a better game, but I remember at the time we couldn't accept it. And, in some ways, looking back, and I know this is getting a little bit off subject, but it's good discussion, we felt in some ways semi-betrayed by Games Workshop because we were used to this NAF that they told us that all these teams existed, and then all of a sudden teams like the Dwarf Giants and, the Reichland or Reekland Reavers, however you choose to pronounce it, weren't in the 3rd edition games. You kind of heard about them, but they tried to sell you on, you want what do they call the dwarf team? The Grudge Bearers instead of the Dwarf Giants. And, you didn't have the Middenheim Marauders anymore. You just had a team called the Marauders. And we kind of felt like betrayed, like they threw out some of our fluff or history that, we embraced. And that kind of threw us off too.
I could totally see that. What I think in 2nd edition, you had some amazing fluff. I remember the old handbook and rule book. There's some hilarious pictures of the teams on there, like Nurgle's Rotters, and they're all like actually decomposing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that one. Who's that one? Is the Chaos All Stars? There's like a mutant guy sitting on a lawn chair or something. Just like funny pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was and those pictures are great. I think it's bloodbowl.org. I think is the old school picture archive.
Yeah,
and someone scanned in all those. They're really cool. And then 3rd edition comes out. The game is 1,000 times better, but you're right. They did this thing in the fluff that was like, the NAF collapsed, and that was part of the storyline. And now these are wandering teams, and it's like challenge matches instead of set schedule. And they really tried to gear it towards that. And then they merged it with the Warhammer universe. And that's where you still, obviously the same models, right? The high elf models are the same ones. And they decided to sell everybody on the idea of, all right, so over here, these guys fight to the death and hate each other. Over here, they're playing some football. Exactly. Totally cool, right?
I always took it to be a separate universe. Did they actually incorporate it into the same universe?
Well, originally, it was a different universe.
Yeah.
And then 3rd edition, it seemed to me, that it was merged. Okay. But then when after 3rd edition came out, it was out for a little while. Then the Blood Bowl magazine started coming out, and then the Citadel journals with different articles, and then some updates started to be made, and then they decided to go with the idea of, no, it's a different universe, and that's when the Pro Elves came out, and that's when like the new ogres came out and vampires. But the Pro Elves is actually, or elves, if you want to call them, that was the really resurgence of bringing it back to its own universe. That's where they officially said, Jervis and those guys said, okay, sorry, we screwed up. It is a different universe. High elves shouldn't be wearing tall hats. In fact, there probably shouldn't even be high elves because they're not, it's just elves. It's like there's no empire, but there's humans. So there should be elves and not high elves. Like it shouldn't be an army. And so they kind of realized we made a little mistake, but they started to go to that throwback style that more, instead of Warhammer-ish looking, it was more like, I don't know, like cyberpunk kind of like looking style where it's like futuristic football. ish, and that's when I think it really started coming back. And I think around that same time, GW re-released third edition anyway. It came out in '93. Then I think when all this was going on in '98, that's when our leagues really got, like we had, people getting into it for the first time because I think they re-released it and had some white dwarfs and
they had some new human models come out at the same time, didn't they?
No, that was a little while
after.
Yeah, a little after, but they did the elves and vampires and ogres were all part of that that kind of resurgence. And then, the humans did come out. I think it was early 2000s, maybe 03, 04. But at that time, they still had the Fanatic division, or then became the Specialist Games division, and they did release new stuff. That obviously all went away, unfortunately.
Right. Oh, cool.
But it's like I said, from a fluff standpoint, I should probably say this because I think we lost it before. But from a fluff standpoint, it was a big part of my hobby of Blood Bowl. You're collecting models, you're painting models, converting, and you make up a cool team and you get behind them, and things happen to them and they get hurt and all that. And that sort of went away for me because then we had these leagues, and then things start to happen, and then I moved a little bit further away, and it just kind of. I didn't have a regular league. And even when I was in a regular league, it wasn't really that regular. It was different. Somehow it lost its magic for me. So I started playing tournaments more, and I love them. Tournament play is my favorite style of Blood Bowl to play because I just like the idea of, off the field. It's getting together with my friends that I don't get to see, and we play some games. Yeah. But what happens is you guys are exactly right. Just as a byproduct of it. Come on, you're playing like 4 games in a day sometimes. You really have enough to think about, how, number 6 star quarterback Joe Schmo, how he's, you don't have that. Like, I don't know. You don't have that.
You don't have the emotional tie to it.
No, it kind of.
It doesn't have a history of it, so your emotions aren't really vested, and they don't die, they don't get hurt, they just get better.
Yeah, they heal, they get better. It's not a big deal anymore. And I'm not saying you can't do it. Like Extreme, my co-host and friend I've been playing with it for so long. He has some of his team, like the 40 Miners is his favorite team. It's his dwarf team. He's got names for them all. He's got history with them. He's got a website he built honoring them and all their different awards. And some are real things, some are made up things. It's great.
I've been to his site. Yeah, he's put a lot of hard work into that.
He did. It's really cool. It was harder for me to do something like that because he's still able to maintain that connection with them, even though, one day you're, Grim, whatever, has a block, and the next day he doesn't because it's a different tournament. And now he's got a strength increase, but he's not going to have that in the next tournament. It's not the same for me, so I find that very hard to do, but I'm trying to work on it.
And that's when you turn to the dark side.
You speak of that, and when we came up to Chaos Cup, I took my Chaos Dwarf team from our league, and the Blackwater Bulls, and it was very hard for me to not put the most current roster on my sheet because so I polled some of the guys in our league and stuff, and I kind of went with the best all-time guys to make that tournament team. And I fumbled around, no pun intended, I fumbled around and stuff with this for like a week to 10 days on like, how am I going to name my guys? And it was very important to me. It's like, which Bull Centaur do I want on here? Which Hobgoblin am I going to give sure hands to be a ball carrier? Do I give it to my current roster guy, or do I go back to, Cyrus the Crotch Virus? Because he was, for 2 seasons, he was the man Hobgoblin. He carried the ball for me. And it's so stupid that I worried about it for a tournament that's Resurrection and doesn't matter, but it mattered to me,
It's not stupid at all. It's pretty cool, and it's easy to get kind of lost in the shuffle of that, and that's going to happen, especially if you're switching out teams. Like I'm trying to get through all 24 teams through NAF tournaments. Like I don't care what my ranking is. I'm not good. I'm not horrible. I'm right in the middle. I just want to get a record with all of them just for a fun kind of variety thing. But it makes it extra difficult to get a connection to the team when every single time after the tournament, it's like, okay, back in the box, or, back to whoever I may have borrowed it from. that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's tough. It's a different game. When I started playing tournaments, my first tournament was Chaos Cup 04, and it was right around little after the inception of the NAF. And something that like me and also like my brother and a couple other guys in our league would do is we would make sure that the team we brought to a tournament was always a different team than our main league team, because we had the hardest time separating not just stats, but, part of the emotional thing. But, a lot of it was our league. I had a Norse catcher with 4 strength, and he was like every game, he's the guy. I mean, he's, became the man in these league games. Then I'll go to a tournament, I'm playing Norse. It's like, wait, I have to start from scratch, and I don't have my guy anymore. Completely different mentality, because it's a different team.
Plus, it'll mess with your gameplay, because you keep thinking, I have to feed the ball to him, and you're like, oh, wait, no, I don't. I need to give it to someone else.
So I made it a point to always use a different team than whatever I used in my league. And I guess you could say it's still been the case when I've been in leagues. Although I did have a Nurgle team in 2009 that I took to Chaos Cup in 2009. Wonderful result. I think it went like 1-4 or a tie. And it was horrible. I'm like the worst Nurgle coach in the country. But in my league, I got to the finals, and I nearly beat this super overpowered Slan team that had an extra league under his belt. This was my first season with him. He had an extra league under his belt, and he had a lot of AG5 Slan catcher. It was pretty ridiculous. And I got to the finals. I lost, but so there goes to show you that league play and tournament play is a whole lot different.
What was your Nurgles team's name?
Good question. They were called the Herdstone Toxins, based off of the Houston Texans.
Nice.
And, well, I say nice, but I actually bought the team. I got a really good deal on it. It was somebody on Talk Fantasy Football advertised it, and they called it that. They had a little story with it. I took the whole thing. I was like, this is great. It was like the whole package, give me it all. Because he had a Beastman standard bearer with a Herdstone Toxins logo on it too. I'm like, this is the greatest thing. It was like $150 too, which if I were to buy the models alone, it would have been, close to 100. And he converted every single one. Wow. It was crazy. I'll have to show it to you sometime, but it's a great team. I like it a lot, and it's got some fluff with it. And like I said, every single model looks different too. So I would try, and that's actually one of the teams I'm using as a model for the rest of mine to get back in that mode of, getting connected back to the teams.
Good. The connection is definitely where half the fun is, to me anyways. Because I want to bring different teams, different tournaments, and to me, the gameplay is one aspect, but just the idea of, it seems odd to me to take a team that I've already taken to a tournament to another tournament, because I've already played them. And it just feels like I need to give the opportunity to more of my teams. It's like I'm this grand owner and I own a whole bunch of teams, and I got to share the wealth and spread it around.
But that also comes from, me and Steve actually became friends through HeroClix. And, I don't know if you played HeroClix, but you'd have people.
I did for a little bit, yeah.
You'd have people show up with their same team week in and week out. And me and Steve's like, you have, 50 HeroClix. Why don't you use all of them and make up different teams? And so then that led us to actually judging HeroClix, and we forced people to change their teams by making different scenarios. You can only play with veteran guys, or you can only play with guys with a surname, Doctor, Mister, or something. We changed it up and forced people to do stuff. And, we're trying to also add that into our tournaments that we want to do, through both down.
That's good. Did you force them to play with the things that made sense too? That drives me nuts. I played HeroClix I played HeroClix for a little bit, and I played Star Wars miniatures for a little bit, and I saw the same problem of both, is that people had these teams of superheroes, or in the case of Star Wars, whatever, people that don't belong together from different eras completely.
Yeah.
One guy, going to the Star Wars thing, he had like Anakin and Vader and like the same group.
That stuff would drive me crazy, but you could talk to comic guys and they go, well, that one time,
I know, that's
whatever.
Well, you see, it's an alternate universe, and they coexist at the same time because they're actually offspring and blah, blah, blah.
If you read Alan Dean Foster's book, in the Splinters of Mind's Eye, Luke actually looked at himself peeing in the mirror.
Of course, yeah. It was funny. I wish in real life you could always use the, asterisk alternate universe to get out of anything you say. Like, oh, it's an alternate universe. So whatever, alternate universe. You're right, because comic book, it's so true. That's the one thing where it's like no matter what you say, they say, there was actually an offshoot, one-off series where they teamed up. It's like, okay, that didn't actually happen, but I'll never know, so you win.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, yeah. So, after listening to your guys' show, I think you had 3 episodes, right?
Yep. So
3.5. Yeah. Yeah, I've listened to them all because you guys are, a bit related to our podcast. No, I didn't say awesome.
No, we are awesome though.
I'm not. It's hard for me to say that.
It.
Just say we're awesome.
You guys are both equally awesome.
Good enough.
We'll take it.
I still think it's an insult, but I'll take it.
I don't give normal compliments. They're always backhanded, no matter what. So, but then, so I was listening to your podcast, and the last episode you were talking about, the background of teams, and you mentioned one of your guys in your league. He played the Hannah Barbarians, and I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. It's cool. And you're like, oh, but Hannah better be a freaking city. Better not just be the guy who wrote the cartoon. You're just trying to be funny. You can be funny, but you better back it up too, right?
And it doesn't take that much more effort to do so. So why not?
No, it doesn't. Right? Exactly. So I kind of made a little list here. Want me to run through some of these teams? You guys
I want to hear some of your teams because I'm really jealous of through talking through you through email and stuff. You were talking how this podcast has changed your mind and attitude on some of the teams, and I'm really a big fan of the Lost Skaven Gamblers?
Yeah, so let me. That's actually the first one on my list here. So again, and this is part of the reason for doing this is also the fact that I'm trying to get through all the teams with NAF, which I like it because there's certain teams I wouldn't play in a tournament. I'm going to a tournament this weekend in Indianapolis called Royal Rumble. It's all wrestling themed and all that, but I bring in Khemri. I hate Khemri. I would never want to play them ever. They just don't interest me at all. I'm borrowing my brother's team because I don't have one, but I want to get a ranking with them. It's one of the
Steve, somebody in our league won the whole league with a Khemri team, right?
I don't think so, no.
He's lying. I won the whole league with Khemri. Boom!
I bet you're still trying to pick up the ball, too.
That is always a difficulty.
So anyway, so I got this Skaven team. I'm building a second edition base Skaven team. It was always my favorite Skaven models by far. I was not a big fan of the third edition ones, and the ones people convert out of plastics are pretty cool, but I really like the second edition one. So I got my hands on one, and I have not started painting yet. I am going to do that one myself, but I'm a football fan, obviously, and wrestling fan, and I remember the XFL. We used to go to those games. So I decided I got a Las Vegas Outlaws jersey. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to paint these guys like the black and gold of that and call them the Las Vegas Outlaws.
Awesome.
See, I'm so jealous. That's such a perfect name. I wish I would have came up with that first so I could say you're copying me.
I know, right? Especially now that it's on your show. It's official now.
I'll just edit this out. We'll have a big beep through that section.
Steve's in charge of editing. Steve won't allow that. He's got a heart.
He's true.
Trustworthy. So that I'm working on that team right now. I'm going to probably have that towards the end of the year done, and that way when I am ready to play Skaven, when I get towards them, I have other teams waiting to be played. I'm going to get those ready to go. I got the Nurgle team, which I mentioned, the Hearthstone Toxins. Those I bought off of a guy on TFF, did a great job with them. And then my Lizard Man team, people have seen this. Lizard's actually one of the teams I'm, moderately good with, and that's I used to call him Liz in My Pants, and that was where it started the whole thing. And everyone, of course, gets a kick out of the names. I'm the funny guy, whatever. I have the funny names, and it's it was a funny name, but it's like you said, a horse racing name. And I think part of it, not to go on a tangent too much, but I think part of it with the funny names was also knowing you're going to a tournament and knowing the tournament organizer is going to announce the names just to get him to say it.
And we got a taste of that at Chaos Cup, when people did that to you. So it was humorous hearing you had to spill off some of the crazy names and stuff. So.
It's funny. I'll take a weird funny name I have to read off over like a foreign sounding name. This guy Nathan from Wisconsin, he had like this whole like ninja Japanese theme, and of course his team name was something that you couldn't even pronounce. It was just ridiculous, and I think I said it differently every single time. So I got Liz in My Pants, and I'm thinking about I like to try to get like a jersey or a shirt that goes with my teams too. Again, just to wear them with them for fun. I have it for most of my teams actually, some kind of apparel to go with them. And my Lizard Man team are painted purple and orange. I bought those from a guy at Zlurpcast. It's funny. We played a match, and I was like, man, I really like this team a lot. He converted some really cool plastic lizards. He's like, you want to buy them? I was like, well, if you paint the whole team, like 16, yeah, I'll do it. So, I picked up that team.
Did he beat you with that team?
I think we actually ended up with a draw. I think
okay.
It was a day I played against three Lizard Man teams, getting so sick of them, and it made me want to play them. I was sick of fighting, 6 strength 4 guys and a croc. So essentially 7 guys that are always going to be higher strength than most teams out there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm getting a little tired of this. Especially, I think I was playing dwarves, And lizards on dwarves are one of the worst matchups for dwarves because dwarves work great with all their skills and all that, but lizards, when you 1-to-1 matchup all those dwarves, take them out. So I got that team, used them in quite a few tournaments, did pretty well with them, but I got to think of something to go with them. So I have a jersey I wear when I play them. It's actually a Clemson Tigers jersey, but it's like a alternate purple one with orange because I got it because it was the team colors. So maybe I'll do something with their name, or not really sure yet. So I'll have to work on that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to name a lizard team after tigers.
Yeah, but the paw print on the jersey could be like a dinosaur kind of print. So I might do something like that.
Ooh, yeah.
That'd be cool.
Because it actually looks, it's just like a footprint kind of thing. So yeah, I'm gonna work on
fossils.
The what?
Fossils.
The Clausen fossils.
Makes them sound like they're dead.
They are. You know they're fake, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I live in a world where I think Blood Bowl exists.
Blood Bowl does exist. So then I have my dwarf team, which let me ask, and I want to get your opinion on some things too. So my dwarf team, which is, I don't have many teams that I'm quote good with. I don't want to say I'm really good, but I'm not. But dwarves, I've won more than I lost, I think, and I had them painted for me by this guy in Italy who was painting on commission, and he, great rates, and it worked out well. He was a really good painter. I wanted it to be all black and white, and I showed him a picture of one I saw online. I think it was actually in that old school picture archive in their gallery section. I said, take this and make it exactly for me.
Oh, and it's the picture of the Dwarf Blitzer that's black and white?
Well, the whole team is black and white.
Oh, okay, all right.
I mean painted black and white. Sorry, not an illustration. There's on that same website. There's a gallery of real teams, but real with miniatures, and it's black and white armor painted black and white. So I wanted a team that looked like that, and being a heavy metal fan, I like Black Label Society, and I have a shirt. It's all black and white. That was going to be my theme, and I used them quite a few times. So let me ask you guys. Does that qualify as a fluff, in your league, in your mindset? Would you call a team called the Black Label Society, and all their player names are their song titles, but they're song titles that like a person would be like one guy's called, Reverend Black Mass Reverend, because that was a song they had. One's called the Overlord, because that was a song they had. I didn't just take like a song that doesn't sound like a name. So would that qualify? And if not, what should I do to them to make them qualify?
I think it would probably qualify. I mean, Scott's the final say in our league. But to me, the problem, just taking the name Black Label Society and changing it to Black Label Society where you're not changing it at all, to me, that's a red flag.
I'm going to kind of agree with Steve. It doesn't bug me in some instance, because if you can come up with the fluff behind it or the reason they're called that way. And I'll give an example. There's a guy in our league who he loves the pun of the Black Eyed Peas, but he wants to run an Amazon team called the Black Eyed Bees, and it's because their owner beats them up. Is that the joke that I don't get?
They're
Steve?
All named after battered women.
They're all named after
Amazon
battered
team,
like Tori Amos. And,
so they're the Black Eyed Bees.
So
black-eyed.
So they're black-eyed, but the joke is based off the Black Eyed Peas, obviously. So I told him if he could work that in. So he decided to come up with Black-eyed, which is, how is that spelled?
Spelled BLACHIED.
Okay, and that is a mountain, one of the tallest mountains in a certain mountain region over there in Amazonian or Lustria. So
is that real, or did he make that up?
He made this up.
Okay, and that's totally fine. Just wondering.
Right. So
that's the point. If you don't know and you can't tell, then we're doing the job right.
So
you are 100% right. Yep.
So officially, his name is the Mount Black Eyed Bees, and of course, we just shortened it to the Black Eyed Bees in our league. And yeah, he's changed people's names, so it pronounces Tori Amos, but it doesn't look like Tori Amos. I mean, not really clear like the singer Tori Amos, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Oprah Winfrey was like O' something something, and then I think her last name was actually just the free part and stuff.
Something like that.
I like the idea of using songs though as part of their names. Reverend somebody and maybe one of the band members' last names, or Overlord. If the lead singer's last name is Smith or something like that.
The Overlord's a decent enough name, and the Reverend is fine.
What about so would it be more? Should I look at doing something like because the shirt I wear with them, it says Black Label Society, but it also says just BLS too. Should I look for just doing something else, or should it be? Should I create a town called that? I mean, what would you? I mean, because I want to just kind of curious to see if you think on its own could fit in, or if it needs to be altered to make it a town and their name. And is society even a name? Right? It's not like the Tigers or something, it's not a nickname of a team. So what do you think about that?
I see it, if you're just asking my opinion, and I'm no expert, so please don't, whoever's listening, don't think that we're the fluff experts or anything like that. But I see actually something where, you have maybe a town or a region that these guys are from, and once you're fans of them, and like the hardcore people are the Black Label Society, and they're all, maybe like underground fans or something, they lift up their sleeve and they have a tattoo or something, a label that indicates that maybe that these guys were, I don't know, the greatest warriors that played maybe at one time on the pitch, or that they were in some type of like secret coven or something, or maybe an underground Dungeon Bowl team that played,
See, my problem is I'm currently stuck on them being halflings and calling them the Black Ladle Society.
Did you actually do that?
No, he didn't do that, but that's really cool. He just came up with that.
Yeah. But that's...
Well, it's not allowed because Scott won't allow it.
I don't know, Black Ladle. That's good enough.
It's hard to come up with fluff with halflings, that's for sure. Since they just want to come from the moot. But I don't know. I mean, you could work anything in.
And honestly, the Black Label Society sounds...
They could be the Blacksmith Label Society. Dwarves are known for blacksmithing.
Yeah.
Oh, the Blacksmith Label Society?
Yeah. Or shorten to the Black Label Society.
Yeah.
And you can spell black, what is it, BLAQUE
or something.
QUE, like blacksmith from the cable comic.
Yeah, okay.
It's just some ideas. I mean, for example, Johnny, this last weekend we went down to Bugman's Bowl, and my vampire team was really kind of based off of a semi-pun that I tried to get for WWE. It was the Stanfordheim Titans, and Stanford, Connecticut's where WWE is located. And, of course, Titan Sports used to own WWE as the official name. So I was the Stanfordheim Titans, and I was really a vampire team, and I used these little, like, squinky miniatures that we'll talk about later tonight on the podcast for my miniatures. They were like little WWF guys. So... I still said
it's a cool name, by the way. I like it.
I still said WWF. It's been like, 12 years since the change to WWE? Anyways, if I threw out the name Mark Calloway to you, would you have
gotten... Undertaker.
Okay. So I named one of my vampires Mean Marcus Calloway the Callous. And that was a pun on his real name and one of his couple of his old names, because he
was Mean Marcellus.
Exactly. So I threw that together and actually looked up vampires rankings. So he's like Bishop, Mean, Mark, Calloway, the Callous and stuff. So I changed it just slightly. I have Reverend. Speaking of reverends, for one of the other vampires was Kane, whose real name is Glenn Jacobs. Well, I changed his name to Reverend Kane Jacobs, and I changed the spelling just a little bit. But whoever follows wrestling got the joke or the theme, and everybody else just thinks it's a cool vampire name,
Yep.
So
that's a good. It's nice to have the best of both worlds, and that, I guess, it's not to insult anyone, but people that are in on the joke and people that aren't. It doesn't matter as long as they think it's cool. Either way, right?
Well, at Bugman's, I had people look at the roster and thought that was just cool that I had all my thralls of vampires named this way, and some people got it, and that's fine,
Yeah, I would never have gotten it if he didn't tell me, and if his miniatures didn't look like wrestlers.
Yeah, that gives it away.
It does.
But okay, so some other teams I've got. Another team I played for a long time, off and on, is my Wood Elf team, and they're called the Shamrock Shakes. And let me give you some brief background on them. All of their names are a combination of trees and Irish names. Like my catcher's Maple O'Malley. I've got Pine Armstrong as my war dancer.
I love that.
I've got Evergreen O'Reilly in there. I've got, so that was all of their names were a tree and then an Irish last name. And I have them painted in green, orange, and white as well. Again, it was kind of a pun in that McMurdy's is McDonald's. And even though I didn't change Shamrock Shakes, but it was, like Zlurpee is Slurpee, so I was kind of like trying to fit it in that mold of like a sponsored team in a way. Mm-hmm. And I have little, my team owner and mascot is actually Grimace had this like Irish uncle in these old McDonald's commercials I found on YouTube, and they had a little green token. Uncle O'Grimacy is his name. So that's in there. I had these little like 4-leaf clover tokens I would use for reroll counters and all that. And actually, my wife, as a birthday present one year, she took a couple pictures of my models and sent it to a company that airbrushed. I'll have to take a picture and show you guys. They airbrushed like an amazing like War Dancer, artwork on an Impact case. And that was my team case. And she got it for me for my birthday. It was great.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. So, I was playing those guys. Then, of course, I do well with them for a little bit. Then I lose for a little bit. So I put them away. Would that fit in the fluff, the Shamrock Shakes?
I would say it's very close. But that's just me being a nitpicky guy I think in the Blood Bowl universe with all the fake sponsorships and stuff, there is room for teams that are sponsored by a restaurant of
and to me,
product.
I actually like it better as McMurdy presents the Shamrock Shakes or something like that.
Yeah, if you sold it to me like that in a second, I'd probably actually let that in the league. If you just wanted it to be the Shamrock Shakes, I would maybe like say, hey man, you think maybe you can find a city or a location or an area and be the Shamrocks or something like that, and maybe you're known for shaking and moving and being a fast team or something like that. But yeah, I love your team. I love your character names, by the way, because when I make elf teams, you go with trees and stuff like that. Old school.
I know what you mean. Yeah, and that was a part of the fun with that, wasn't it? Like being the Wood Elves and the whole like Irish theme, combine those. And I guess I could always do like McMurdy's Presents is cool, or even, change the word Shamrock around a little bit and make it sound like a place, like Shamrock or Shamrock Islands or something,
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah.
And so, so that one's pretty close. I figured that'd be close. I just wanted to test that one out, figure out.
Golly, you make me feel like we're some like Blood Bowl Nazi people.
With the judging committee.
I gotta say one thing, because obviously people are listening to this, but I'm just at my computer with no camera. But you guys have a camera on you right now, so I've been watching this, and it actually looks like when there's like ESPN sports analysts behind a table, like, going real in depth. And I'm trying to like, no, what do you think the chances are this year?
I'm pretty sure the Shamrock Shakes are going to go 4-2 in the season.
It all relies on their War Dancer. You keep the War Dancer healthy, then they're going to go far.
They've got a new tree coming up, Isaac Bruce.
Hey,
Isaac Spruce.
Spruce. That's good. Guy. Yeah, I had Spruce. Spruce McGuire, I think, is one of the names. But yeah, and that's why if people out there are wondering why I'm asking it like as in
next caller, really please.
Approval, but it looks like that on my screen right now. Like, please, experts, give me your seal of approval. All right, so So
what other teams you got for me?
A couple other teams. I got my Norse team, which I haven't played in a while. I got to bust them out again sometime. And when I originally created them, I used the team name of Ragnarok and Rollers. It was spelled like that, Ragnarok -N Rollers. Now, looking at it from a city and name perspective, Rollers, I guess, could be okay because it's, rock and rollers. Should I make an actual city name like Ragnaraka or something to fit with that?
Probably. I mean, if you, everything's up to your discretion. I mean, if you enjoy it as it is, we're not ones to tell you to change. Now, we might like it better if it were a town name, Ragnaraka. Yeah.
But,
or the Ragnaroks could be their mascot, I guess. I don't know.
True. Yeah, and by the way, keep in mind again.
Yeah.
It's just so everyone out there listening knows. I mean, I'm not being serious with any of this stuff. It's more of just like this is one of your guys' favorite topics to talk about, so I want to kind of see how you fit it. Yeah, you're right. Technically, no matter what I do, as long as I'm happy with it, that's of course good.
Right.
I like to play along though because I like to.
And I'm still of the old school that every now and then you can have teams that are named like the Chaos All-Stars, the Lowdown Rats. There's a guy in our league, and I can't really pronounce his city name, the Gulner Doombringers. Well, his team has this attitude of just coming in and sweeping across you and causing chaos. Like, in my mind, even though the record's not that great, they remind me of like the horde of locusts that comes in, eats the crops, takes pillages and then leaves. And I keep telling that guy, dude, you got to drop your city name and let these guys just be the Doombringers. And oh crap, the Doombringers are coming to town this weekend and stuff. So I am under the impression that it just depends when it fits and how it fits, and you don't always have to have a city. And his team's a perfect example. If you played our league, you would understand where I'm coming from. That they could just be the Doombringers.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And like my ogre team, I recently redid them. I think I posted a blog on Zlurpcast.com, and not to try to plug, but just so people know what I'm talking about. And it was another XFL based team, and I call them the Ogrando Rage. They're ogres. Right. And, well, rage, they're ogres, they're a little mad. And part of it, too, is the fluff of the team is why they're all based off of former, like carnival wrestlers in the old world. And some of them, what did I call the owner? Like Mince McSlam or something like that. And he gave them all different types of serums and experimented on them all. And some of them became huge and thus ogre size. Some of them shrunk down and thus became snotling size. I didn't paint snotlings green because they're not like that. They're just like very, very small humans. Yeah. The ogres were very, very big humans as part of the fluff. And so the rage kind of fit in with that too. And I have an Ogrando Rage jersey I wanted to wear. So that one, there should be no question. That would fit in, correct?
Yes, definitely in. Where'd you get those little snotling miniatures?
Good question. Those are actually from impactminiatures.com. I use the imps, they're called.
Oh, okay.
They are by far my favorite snotling miniatures to use, or my favorite miniatures to use as snotlings. I think there's 4 different poses. There's the one with the guy his hands up like he's catching. There's one where he's like putting his hands out like, I think it's called Not in the Face, like the actual name of the model. There's a running one, and then my absolute favorite one is just like the tough guy one. He's staying there like he's going to kick somebody's ass, and he's strength 1. But
yeah, I like that guy.
That's my favorite one. I think I bought like 10 or 11 of those models, and I think 6 or 7 are that tough guy one because he just looks awesome. Great models if you've never seen them before.
Yeah, they're awesome. That's why I asked.
So let me ask you about this one. You brought up some, old like fluff-based teams from the quote real, the old like 2nd edition, whatever, and like the Dwarf Giants. That's kind of that's a bit of the Champions of Death. Not my favorite as far as like fluff sounding, but hey, it was in the original edition, so I'm sure that that still kind of passes. When I first got into playing, I guess right before I got into tournaments and still like towards the end of our weekly leagues, I wanted a Dark Elf team, but I was just a huge fan of the Dark Side Cowboys, the look and the name and just the feel in 2nd edition and even 3rd edition. So I painted up my Dark Elf team. This is like back in the mid 90s. And they're, that dark blue, yellow helmets. And to this day, I still refer to them as the Dark Side Cowboys. How do you feel about that?
Me and Steve probably differ on this just because of our different backgrounds. I love it when people use the 2nd edition teams and even play off of it. Of course, in our league, our first season as a league, I took a dwarf team, and I was the Dwarf Giants. And so I don't want anybody else to play the Dwarf Giants, really, because mine's the real one, in at least my mind. But realistically, I love when people go back and find these other teams, even if they find, like, the Bilbali Archers from, like, just a little nugget of the fluff, in one of those Did You Knows or something. I think that's great. And that's what I always tell the guys, even if we go to tournaments, is like, if you can't find something and you don't want to bother, they've created some fluff or at least some history there for you. Grab one of these teams and go. Why not represent one of those teams? To me, you don't forget the history of where Blood Bowl came from and stuff. So,
to me, it's fine for a tournament team. I just don't like that type of team coming into the league play, because it already has history that you didn't create. And to me, part of the fun of the league is creating your own teams, creating the fluff, and interacting. That's my opinion.
And I totally see that. Actually, a really funny story with the Dark Side Cowboys, which I did not plan. I just happened to think of it, and I remembered it. But it's unfortunate. By the way, not to throw another plug out there, but I'm the organizer of the Chaos Cup. It's the U.S. major, chaoscup.com. But at the like 03 and 04 and probably up until 06 Chaos Cup, whoever won it got to have their team name in the fluff of the rule book. They added it to that list. So those lists that are in the rule book, that talk about, each year, like the Reekland Reavers run, and they're all the, background fluff-based ones. And then once these real once they started happening, they just add them to the list. That was really cool. So I started playing tournaments. My first, 3-4 tournaments were all with my Dark Side Cowboy, my Dark Elf team. And of course, there's me thinking, I always love this team, the cool, the fluff and the colors and all that. I'm thinking, what if I win? It's going to look like the actual Dark Side Cowboys won it. And they already won it like 12 times. And so it's not even going to be like my own team, this and that. Are they going to let me? And it also goes to of course, I don't even come close.
Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. There was one, it was either 04 or 05, where on the start of day 2, Tom Anders, who runs Impact now, used to run the Chaos Cup before me. He comes up to me and says, by the way, if you win this game, you're at the top table. I was like, what? And all of a sudden, like, my stomach started hurting. I felt like I got to shit my pants, and like lost that game, and I lost my next game. I was like, thanks a lot. Don't even tell me that stuff. He was just like, if you win this game, you're gonna be in the final.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
And like I was better in 04 than I am now, by the way, which is really irritating. But so that's what I was thinking about. So then a few years later, Jervis comes. Jervis, Jervis Johnson, by the way, people don't know, created the game of Blood Bowl back in the 80s, and then later 3rd edition he created as well.
And he was on the rules committee up until the most recent one, wasn't he?
That's true. And Jervis is great. I mean, I've hung out with him before. We've had a few beers at Hooters. By the way, I got to ruin his favorite American TV show. He loves Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I told him what was happening in a bunch of different episodes that he didn't get to see yet. And he got all mad at me. It's pretty funny. Jervis is a great guy. And he's not the typical like GW corporate guy. Like he just loves games and all that. Anyway, I had no idea that, and all that fluff and the pictures of the Dark Side Cowboys in the old rule book, that was all Jervis's team. That's like his main team. I had no idea. So then, cut to a Chaos Cup a few years later, I see the Dark Side Cowboys playing, and I go over there, and it's Jervis playing the actual real, like, quote unquote.
That's cool.
The real Dark Side Cowboys. I was like, oh, I can never use these guys ever again. Because now Steve, you talk about it already happened. Yeah, I'm literally watching the guy now that made that team. Like, yeah, I it was almost like Nuffle caught me, like trying to, coach a team that already exists. Like, no, we're going to send the creator of that team out there, and you're going to watch him. And so I don't think I've used them since then. I've lent them out to people. I know other people have used that team a lot, but I haven't. And then from that point forward, I pretty much said, I got to just create all my own stuff because of all that. Not just because of Jervis, but the idea of building your own background and your own story. And you could take some stuff as inspiration.
Sure.
Like how many orc teams out there are from Orkland? I swear there's got to be like hundreds out there that are from Orkland something.
And they should all be from Oklahoma now.
They should all be from Oklahoma. Or do you see the new one? Newark, or Ohio? There's a tournament in Ohio coming up in Newark, and they call it New Orc.
Huh.
On the next Zlurpcast, or on the most recent Zlurpcast, I should say, I was like, why don't you go full on, go New Orc, Ohio, keep it going. But yeah, so you can use inspiration from the old teams, but I'm going to try to.
You can always switch them to the Dark Side Mavericks or something like that. If Dallas is the play on Dark Side,
Which I would imagine, I guess it was, but I think back then they just did whatever. I think back then when they created all this stuff, it was like, hey, listen, we got this side game. It's kind of goofy. Let's half think about what we're doing and half just do whatever.
You're probably right. We're giving them more credit probably than how it happened.
No, definitely. I'm sure we put a lot more thought into it than they did.
Yeah, like, the Champions of Death was their undead teams. Like, well, that's not really, what are they? Are they the champions? Like, should they, what?
Did they beat Death?
Yeah. Which I was really happy that Chaos Pact became an official team, because all these years, all you hear about is Chaos All-Stars, the greatest this and that. And it was an ogre, a Skaven, a dark elf, all this stuff. You could never make that team. In fact, Chaos Cup, the tournament, we give away a Chaos All-Star model, and you can't use them on a team together. So I was really happy to see that team and the Underworld team as well, because that also had history. It was a very cool of the rules committee and Jervis to really kind of make that a focus into getting those two mixed race teams in the rules to kind of fit with the storylines.
Well, I think even adding the Slan. I remember 3rd edition going, I guess the Lizardmen are supposed to be Slan, but I'm not sure. and it took a while to accept the lizard men and stuff, But I'm glad they added the slan back in, and I'm glad we still have the lizardmen actually too. I mean,
it's funny you say that. It's like I think lizardmen, undead, and high elves. The case can be made for all three of those by saying those are all holdovers from the Warhammer universe, and they shouldn't be in the Blood Bowl universe. I'm not saying that's my opinion, but I could see an argument being made for that because they don't really fit anymore. The teams are now based off of the Blood Bowl history, not a lizard man army.
Right. I've heard people talk about the Khemri the same way, and I don't play Warhammer, so I don't know.
Yeah, Khemri. I always kind of hoped that they wouldn't be called Khemri. Why don't you just call them Tomb Kings or something, or call them? I don't know. I mean, because it's kind of, yeah, you're right. Khemri is a Warhammer thing. So, and it's kind of funny too when I remember talking to some Warhammer guys about Blood Bowl one time and telling them, "Oh, look at these new team Slan." They're like, "You mean the big fat guy?" I was like, "Oh, no. That's the Warhammer Slan is a big fat guy with spells. The Blood Bowl Slan are actually the complete opposite and very agile, and they all jump." Like, oh, okay. So it's you get that crossover and not crossover at the same time with Blood Bowl and Warhammer.
Is there any teams that you would like to see added to Blood Bowl, or do you think it's good in its current state?
That's a really good question.
Bretonians?
No, it's a Warhammer.
And I actually got this from a guy on Twitter today. I can't remember his name, so you're gonna have to forgive me. But some guy today asked if there was any teams that we'd like to see maybe added or something missing.
When we had the Awful League for so many years, and every year we added some new stuff to it and took away stuff, and we used a lot of house rules. Like it was almost like as soon as I got internet, it was like the worst thing ever for our league because I just downloaded everything possible. We had an all Minotaur team. My buddy played a Nippon team, like the ninjas. So we had samurais, ninjas, and there was different Ashigaru, whatever that. It was just the weird stuff we found online. And it was so funny because, especially me as commish, I'm like, hey, it was online. We're going to use it. I mean, if you think about how ridiculous that statement is now, as in anything and everything is online, and 99% of it all is crap. But again, back in like 97, 98, I found this online. Like, whoa, online. That must have come from the company then.
Must be new. Must be official.
Yeah, right. Came from Jervis J at gamesworkshop.com. And so we had everything. And it was kind of fun. My friend's Nippon team, that ninja team, was really cool. A guy played an all Minotaur team, and I think we allowed him 8 Minotaurs, 8 or 9, and they were called the Stampede. He went 0-10, but he had a whole lot of fun. That league beating everybody up. And I don't know. I mean, it was fun, but that was back then. That was when it was like the Wild West. Whatever we did, whatever. Now, if I were to look at it, I would probably say, rather than add new teams, I would rather see alterations done to the existing teams to make things. I'm really big on making things more even. It's just not many people agree with that sentiment. That's fine, but I don't know. I mean, with
I think we both do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Make the teams even enough to where heads up either one can win. I've always been for that. At least
maybe I need to join your show and leave Extreme in the dust.
Well, it's all good dwarfs over here.
I don't mind the tier system itself because they flat out tell you about the tier system. But at the same time, in my brain, it would be nice if you sat down with 1,000 points. A team build of $1 million credits or dollars or gold pieces or whatever of halflings, and they could actually have a game against the same equal value team of dwarves.
That's exactly what that's all I'm asking. Is like,
why not have different levels? We keep the 3-tier system, but give each team all 3 tiers. So if you want to play a tier 3 human team, well, you can't take catchers or you can't take a thrower. Something like that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I never thought of that idea.
Or if you want a tier 1 vampire team, then, you only allowed 3 vampires and they don't have bloodlust or something.
Extreme did something similar to that. At Zlurpy Bowl, he took the concept of a stunty cup. Most people out there know what it is. It's when you play halflings, goblins, or ogre, and some people also allow an all skink team with only a crocs. There's a few variants, but he took that all a step further and he called it For the Love of the Game. And it was an entire list, I think 10 different team lists of very, very challenging teams. I think one of them was all zombies. Well, undead is nowhere near a tier 3 team, nowhere close. But when the whole team is zombies, or you get maybe one werewolf and all zombies, then it starts to look at that challenge. Yeah, it kind of sucks. So, yeah, you kind of did something like that. But you know what's funny is, and that's coming from Extreme, who's a big proponent of the different tiers, but he also purposely made it, he did the opposite of what I would do. He took some teams and made crappy versions of them to mix in this for fun group of people. I want to do the opposite. I want to take halflings and allow them 4 tree men and maybe a 0 to 4, extra model out there that's got Dauntless or something or block, just some stuff to boost them up. And that's my way of even, instead of doing the other way around of saying, oh, you could play a crappy version if you want to bring it down to this level. I don't want to bring it down to any level. Halflings, no matter what you do to them, are always going to be challenging to play. The majority of the guys are strength 2, and tree men move two squares.
Well,
so
and to me,
go ahead. Sorry,
I'm sorry. Even if you take a good coach, he's still a good coach. You take a Frank Bradford with halflings, or Frank Bradford with what else? He's still going to do well. He knows how to milk the inducement system or the right pieces to buy. So it's not really, to me, it doesn't matter. This thing of a coach can challenge himself, that to me doesn't matter, because a good coach is still a good coach. And let's just face it, there's some players that are okay, there's some players that are bad, and there's some players that are good, and we all love the game, but that's just where we fall in.
I would split it up into thirds, and a third to me is luck, dice rolls, always. A third is going to be, luck. The other third, I put in coaching ability, and then the final 3/3. Yeah, I'm not great at math. The final third is matchups to me, and that, like I mentioned earlier, lizards on dwarves do very well. Dwarves going against Amazons will do very well, because of certain skills and how they work and playing to people's strengths. Skaven playing against a slower team is going to do pretty well because they just run past them every time. So it's matchups. So yeah, you're right. I mean, a good coach will do better. Someone like Frank, and the only tier system I actually like is the one that says Frank is number 1 tier when it comes to coaches.
Because Frank can't play.
Well, we had a tournament a few years back. Extreme used to run a tournament called Little Zlurp, and it was like this, not really a Zlurp preview, but more of just like a tournament in his garage. We're all kind of drinking, and it's just a kind of a fun, goofy tournament. I'm playing against Frank. I have dwarves, which I feel was my best team at the time. Frank has halflings, and Frank was quite drunk, and he still beat me. Halfling against dwarves, and he was drunk, and I was so mad.
Didn't he come in second at that tournament?
He's either second or he won it.
I think it was second, yeah.
Might have been second. Yeah, I mean, it was just ridiculous. So yeah, but for most people though, it does matter. Halflings are a challenging team. I guess my point was just, no matter what you do, even if you were to take my mindset of give those teams a little boost, there's still going to be a challenge to play, I guess is my point. Everyone's like, oh, you're trying to make it all even. It's like, well, maybe not totally even, but at least closer, where, Extreme, I brought it on our most recent Zlurpcast, because I would imagine it's going to be coming out before this. We talk about his performance at Chaos Cup, and I joked with him, but he played Chaos Pact, and he did pretty poorly with them. And he'll always use the line of, well, I played the best Chaos Pact team I can play. Like, I did the best I could do. It's a very, it reminds me of, when I played soccer and we'd lose every game, but the whole team got trophies at the end of the season.
Right.
We did the best we can do. That's not good enough for me. Like, I want to know if I'm going to travel, number one, travel to a tournament, drive hundreds of miles, or even fly, which a lot of people do, spend all this money, hotel. Yeah, I get to hang out with my friends and all that, but just to go and know that you're bringing a team that you have no freaking chance of winning with, that's tough for me to handle. Maybe I'm that competitive, but that's very tough for me to deal with.
And the funny thing is, that's kind of how I went to Bugman's. I went to Bugman's just thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to play with this team because it's fun, and not to give things away, but we'll see how things came out.
Well,
later.
we both actually took that approach.
Yeah.
And
realistically, yeah.
We'll talk about later on the podcast, but I took vampires, and we had pretty decent success, and we'll talk about that later. But I agree with you. Even in our league, I have halflings, and I go balls out every game. And,
Of course.
you have to. To me,
I don't know. Adding one tree man to the halflings, it makes them really tough.
if we're talking about changing stuff, I default back to second edition where halflings had 2 different positions. They had the lineman and catcher. And I wouldn't mind seeing, I don't know how you would necessarily do this, but maybe a beefier. It bothered me a lot in third edition when we just got, there was only one halfling. There's only one goblin when I was used to having
Different styles.
Yeah, you could have more halfling linemen. Now, there weren't much difference at all, but it still just bugged me,
Yeah, they had races in second edition. Like, you play a race, and then you have positions. In third edition, it was the case for some of them. The other ones, it's like, no, if you're part of this race, that is your position.
Yeah, you're all crappy.
People are like, oh, that, I think, I don't even know if it says it anywhere, but like, it used to say, like on an orc team, maybe I'm just imagining it, but it would be like, I'll take a goblin catcher too. Like, just a goblin. Like, that's all you get. There is no goblin thrower or goblin catcher, just like there's no other halflings. And I agree with you. It'd be nice to see some positions. It's just another race. Why can't this other race learn how to play Blood Bowl and have specialized positions? Why can't they?
Right.
Because they're too busy eating. They're just fat.
So, I guess so, yeah.
Okay, so my original question was what teams will we add to it, and I'm going to answer real quick. And this also goes way back to second edition. There was full-on werewolf teams. Yep. And that's the last team that I would add into this. I don't know how. And what I do love about the Blood Bowl community and the rules committee is that they play test this stuff over and over. And I'd like to, hats off to those guys. They just don't throw something in there and just say, we'll go with it and work it out later. If somehow they could add a werewolf team to the mix and cap this thing at 25, I would be happy, because I look at, if you do want to run a ninja team, you can make them the dark elf race and they have stats like a ninja. And we had a guy in our league that actually does that. And you can have ninja miniatures and go that way. So that's the only thing, like, fluff-wise, that really stands out to me. I'd like to see the West Side Werewolves represented with an all-werewolf team. How you do that I don't know. It does seem crazy by our current rules settings, because we know how great
2 werewolves
are.
Enough, yeah.
I know. I'm just saying, I don't know, maybe you have lesser vampire or lesser,
unchanged ones.
Well, yeah, if you remember what the actual rules were in there, and I'm going by memory here, but
they all had to transform.
Well, yeah. So you essentially, it might have even said it. I may need to bust out the old yellow book one of these days.
I was looking at it actually the other night. So,
those two, but the red and yellow book are both awesome. And I think I've had the companion book under my pillow when I was a kid too, for other reasons. But it was my companion. The werewolf team, it had you have human models and also werewolf models.
Yeah, it actually says that in the yellow book.
So I always thought about oh man, so I gotta have a case that fits 32 guys first. And the idea was something happens. I don't know if you roll on each one before, whatever it was, and then you place them prone. Then the next turn they turn into a werewolf, and you got to stand up with them. And I was like, you know what? If that was the case, that evens things out quite a bit, because every time you start to plan something, you got guys changing, hitting the ground. There was even a rule in there about if a werewolf ends its turn next to a tree man, he loses his turn because he pees on the tree.
That's right. Or if he attacked a undead team, he could I think he would grab his bone and go try to bury it and stuff.
Yeah, he ran off with the bones. Hilarious. And one of the old drawings showed the werewolf with a bone, like a leg in his mouth. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that was something I always thought would be really cool, and that would be the way to do that, is put in this major limiting factor, much like vampires have bloodlust and then the thralls. You don't really have a team of vampires. It'd be great if there was a way to do that. Just like with ogres. When they came out with the most current rules for ogres, I was a bit disappointed. Well, first off, it used to be ogres and goblins. So that I'm fine with, because I don't like ogres and goblins together. That doesn't make sense. But it should have just been ogres. Remember the Oldheim ogres in the second edition rulebook?
Yes. And my friends argued with me that those must be Skaven and not goblins. So I accepted it, because that was one of the teams I was playing. And Skaven and ogres are freaking great.
That seems too good.
It is too good. They made it to our finals that year.
You know what's funny is I actually like playing ogres a lot, because I think snotlings they're so annoying with sidestep in there.
My only one beef with that, again, if we're talking about what alterations I would make, I would just do one change to ogres, and assuming you can't have a full team of ogres, which I would be my first change. But assuming you can't do that, I would give Snotlings movement 6 because that one extra movement helps when
difference.
When they're being
touchdowns.
Yeah, when they're being thrown, that helps big time. But otherwise, I like playing ogres. I mean, I've gone 500 with them quite a few times, and for me, I think that's pretty good with ogres. So it's, again, and they're challenging, and I know that.
There's no team I fear more than playing than an ogre team, and I'm being serious because that's a team you should win all the time. They're so frustrating. The sidestep and.
Well, that's one thing I actually do. If I had to pick one thing I like about the tier system is that if you are playing a tier 3 team, yes, you have to go in with the mindset of I'm probably not going to win anything, whatever. But when you're playing, it's essentially a win-win because you're not supposed to win. Then if you do, you're going to be, taunting that guy and like it's going to be, oh, I know my orc team lost to the halflings. I know, and it's the guy's going to feel horrible about it. So that's the one benefit, I guess, you get out of it.
Okay, I do want to go back to the werewolf idea because
you could have greater werewolves and lesser.
How about this? You get to start with 2 changed werewolves like you have now. Everybody else is human, and you have transform. Every werewolf has transform. You roll a d6. If you're a human and you roll a 6 on the beginning of your turn, you turn into a werewolf. And if you're a werewolf and you roll a 1, you turn back into a human.
Now, do you just automatically change, like human one turn, werewolf the next, like just boom, boom kind of thing?
Yeah, it'd be at the beginning of your action.
We're going to have to get Plasmoid on this so he can play test all this stuff.
I would say it would be... I would say, you'd lose your turn and then transform, but where you have to do it each action, then you might not be doing anything with like 5 of them for the whole game.
Yeah.
Sounds like we have a project to do.
That's that's interesting.
I like
they could work because if you think about it, now you said start with 2 actual werewolves.
Yeah, just to keep you from being all human.
Could those guys roll a 1 too, or you don't roll on them?
They'd probably get like a 1-turn immunity.
Oh, so otherwise they could go back to human as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve's going to actually give this team rules to the game that doesn't exist before, so it's going to throw everything off.
Or they could just be complete. They could be greater werewolves where they don't change.
Like a vampire lord.
Yeah.
They used to have. That's not there anymore, right? No, there's no vampire lord.
There's no.
That was a rule though. You know what they in the one of the initial Jervis vampire rules, they took Count Luther's stat line and they gave that to the vampire team as a vampire lord. And he did not have, at the time it was called Off for a Bite. It wasn't Bloodlust. It was different. It was like you were knocked out every time you are about to take the pitch. You had to roll 4+, or else you sit in KO trying to bite necks in the crowd or something. But Count Luther's stat line was Vampire Lord. So they were actually a pretty good team because you could take a Vampire Lord and Count Luther before his price got really jacked up high. And then, 2 or 3 regular vampires without bloodlust. They were just either in or out. And then a bunch of thralls. They were pretty good.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. Well, do we have any other fluff-related questions?
I know I talk a lot. Sorry.
No, you're cool, man. This has been a fun interview.
That's what we're here for.
All right, good. Yeah, Extreme won't let me talk about this stuff.
Oh, are we going to blame Extreme on that?
Yeah.
Well, y'all can't talk about that anyways. This is our corner of the market, so you guys aren't allowed.
I'm glad you guys actually found a corner because seriously, because I have a feeling at some point soon you're going to see like a podcast from Europe or somewhere in the UK pop up because they listen to all of these, and I think it's going to happen. So
I hope so.
The sooner, so do I. The sooner you can grab your niche, I guess is what I'm saying, the better for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We are the Fluffcast.
Yeah, we plan to expand, though, and we're going to do tournaments, and then we're going to have other shows on tactics and everything else, because we're going to go worldwide.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No, I agree with you. I think that we will see more Blood Bowl podcasts. If you just kind of look at the, not grumblings, but the rumblings, it's just bound to be 2 other guys that get together and say, we can do this too.
And it's also nice to know that we're making a difference. Not only have we changed Johnny's life for the better, but Nazgob just recently put up a post saying how much he hates us.
I read that. I read his blog post today, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it's Mike Whitman at bloodbowlmayhem.blogspot.com.
You got it. Yep.
And he talks about how much he hates us.
I love it. I love the article. Both down, I hate you.
Yes.
It was a brilliant article.
It was great. He's a great guy, and it's well written, and it talks just like Jonny, going from, I wouldn't say not caring about fluff, but putting it on the back burner, to now putting it forefront. And it really does make the whole game a better experience.
Is he the guy that tweeted us and said that I just created a team on the video game? Mm-hmm. So, somebody tweeted us and said, I just created my team on the video game, and,
Yeah, this article came up before we recorded, so Scott hasn't been able to read it completely.
No, I have read the article.
But yeah, that's the one he's talking about. He had to restart his team.
Right, he restarted. Yeah, that's right. It was.
Yeah,
on the,
it was on the article.
He had a fumble team, I think.
Right? Yeah, it was a fumble team. He restarted it because of us, but he tweeted us called us gits or something like that because of what we did to him and made him rethink about this. And that reminds me of a story too. And one of the reasons we got Jonny on here, if you follow Zlurpcast with Jonny and Extreme, in their forums, Extreme puts up, hey, I want to name my Scotling team from Impact Miniatures, the little Scotling halfling guys. And he has all these names like Smoke a Tree, Grab Those Tatties, and all these kind of what I call horse racing names. And, no offense to him.
Or horses.
Or jockeys. And anyways, so Jonny pipes in and gives him some examples of like some cities or areas and some cool mascots. And Extreme's response is, both down has changed you. And I love that response. And that means that even if there's only 5 guys out there in the world that listen and now rethink about this, that's good. Because all we are after is just talking about something we love and the side of it that we love. Plus, we want to grow the Blood Bowl community. So that is so awesome.
Yeah, that's all I did was put out there. I said, if you want to go with the whole like drinking theme, I said, call them the Scotchland, like Scotchland drunkards or something like that. It was and that way you can make a whole thing about Scotchland. It's not Scotland, it's Scotchland,
right.
So you could have had a whole theme based on that. But yeah, right off the bat, he was like, and he's just kind of doing it, obviously in jest and all. But the idea of, why not? You could have. I'm making it a point going forward to have fun with the team names, but also have them sound like they kind of make sense too. And you could have one that sounds cool and is fun without going for the, and this is again coming from the guy who does the D&D humor on Zlurpcast, without going for the cheap joke too. Yeah. I mean, as much as I love, Liz in my pants and it's funny, like at Chaos Cup, some guy had a team called like the Vagina Vendetta or something.
Yes.
And it's like, it made me laugh. It was funny, but I don't know. I mean, you don't have to, I related a little bit to, and it's going to sound bad because, again, I've done this before with putting funny names, but something that bothers me, and I play a little bit of 40K and Warhammer too here and there, and something that drives me nuts when you read stuff online from these players is that they always use abbreviations that they think are funny, but then it's like you're making fun of the game that you love too. So, like, for example, in 40K, there's a weapon called an assault cannon. It's like the most badass weapon. It destroys everything, tons of shots at once. And then online, every forum you look at, they go, I take about 3 ass cans, is what they call that. They call it ass cans. And, like, there's they call librarians like the wizards or psychers, and the Ultramarines have a guy named like Tigurius, the chief librarian. He's like a ton of points, the best guy in the game. And online they go, now take Tiggy, and when you take Tiggy, move him over here. And they call him Tiggy, and it's like, man. They call Ultramarines, they're painted blue. They call them Smurfs, or they call them Smurfs online. They go, oh yeah, so you guys playing Smurfs?
It just allows them to feel like they're connected to a group. You've got your own little language and little abbreviations.
I see that on HeroClix forums all the time. That stuff drives me nuts. So
it does. Because you know what it is? Because certain people, again, going to the fluff, for me, Blood Bowl's always been different because Blood Bowl is a tongue-in-cheek game anyway. And also,
absolutely.
When I talk to people about Blood Bowl tournaments and how it's a different mentality than a Warhammer tournament, we're all just having a good time. It actually, if you break it down to its most purest form, Blood Bowl fluff is that it's a game also. What I mean is, yes, we are playing a game with the board, but the little guys at the table are also playing a game too.
That's true.
Whereas when you're playing Warhammer 40K and somebody like I played in one tournament at Adepticon, I'll never do it again. and a guy had this big old like greater demon and should destroy everything. He hid him behind these mountains, turn after turn. I'm like, come on, man, let's fight. He's like, no, he's worth too many victory points. He's like, it'd be stupid for you to put him out there. It's like, got it. So right there, you were doing the whole like kind of metagame thing. But the idea is we're playing a battle. We're battling. We're fighting. But now the game took precedence over that.
Exactly.
So like, for me, Blood Bowl's always been a fun game, tongue in cheek. But when it comes to like war games, like not that I'm saying I'm all serious with it, but I don't make fun of my stuff. That's for sure. You know, it almost makes it seem like the nerds that play these games, which I'm one of them, are trying to, you know, belittle the other nerds by making fun of it.
That's
like,
funny.
No, dude,
that's funny.
You're the one who spent $1,000 on all your models and probably lost quite a few girlfriends painting those models. But
you'd have to have one to lose one.
That good point.
No, you're right, and that reminds me of. I always thought it was funny in HeroClix, coming from the HeroClix background, that somebody would have a powerful piece like Superman, and you know they'd abuse his power of hitting and running, and they would go hide him behind a building. And so this strategy, why game wise, was a total valid power gaming strategy and validated. Mm-hmm. From a comic book standpoint, I always called him Chicken Shit Superman because he'd hit you and run. And it's like, wow, I can't wait to read the adventures of Chicken Shit Superman.
It's a great comic. He just like finds out who the villain is, goes, hits him once, and then, gets hit back, and just runs away from the
And then he hides, or he runs to his medic to get healed.
He finds out who the villain is, and he calls in sick that day.
Exactly.
He calls up Jane Foster, and...
He goes back.
He goes
to
in
the
the phone booth, and instead of changing, he calls in sick.
Yeah, exactly. So no, we totally understand. So
yeah, so that I get that. You know, and like I said, I know fluff is a major part of your podcast, and you know, like I said, I lose it a little bit here and there with Blood Bowl because it is a game based on a game, and we're all getting together and again that tournament. But the reality is, it has fluff just like everything else does, and the more you play into that, the more fun I think you're going to have.
Absolutely.
Right. Last question I'm going to have for you, and this is real quick. When you carry out, like you have a play, you pick up the ball, you hand off the ball, and then you throw the ball to the end zone, in your mind, does that play out like sports? Because I played sports all growing up. So me playing football and wrestling and all that stuff growing up, I see these plays, and that's another part of why Blood Bowl's so awesome to me, because while, yeah, we just took 15 minutes to act this out, in my head, the highlights show this move happening, this big block happening to open up the hole. He throws the ball down. Oh, it almost is picked off because the guy rolled a 5. And, you know, it tipped into the hands of the so-and-so catcher and touchdown. They win the game. Do you see the plays happen like that, or is it just this was the achievement point, I got a touchdown?
No, I totally see it happening. And, you know, the hard part is, you would think the hard part of imagining is that we're playing with fantasy creatures and not regular people. That's not actually the hard part for me to imagine. The hardest part is the fact that it's not football, right? It's more like a rugby kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
So that's actually harder. It seems weird. It's harder for me to imagine the fact that there's no downs than there is that there's a freaking Croxagore running around. It's so weird, you know?
That's very true.
But yeah, but when it's a play, for example, like you just said, it's a common Skaven tactic. You run up, you hand off, then take the guy that has the ball, run up, throw a long bomb to the guy waiting in the end zone. You score from one end zone to the other pretty much. And if there were rats, actually playing this kind of game and you watch them, that's totally what they would do. And having like the Cyanide video game, I don't know if you guys have played that or not. Yeah. I don't play it a bunch, but from a visual aspect, man, that really was like, it's like when a comic book becomes a movie, or when something gets visualized for you. It was actually kind of cool just to watch.
Oh yeah, the cinematics are amazing, and the play sometimes, but I definitely just want like a bigger story to it.
To the video, to the Cyanide game.
I'm like, because of course we love the universe and we love the idea. I'm like, okay, come on, cinematic, just last another 15 minutes and show me a story.
Yeah, not to get too much on that, but. The one downside of that game, I mean, there's a few. I mean, there's a lot of great points about it. It's getting new people into the game, which is awesome. But it's that story mode or whatever. I never even played it because I played one game against the computer and it wasn't even a challenge. They were doing dumb things.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, I'm like, well, that's that part of the game I'm never going to play ever again. Now I strictly have to play real people.
I play it just to test out teams that I haven't played before. It is good for that type of thing.
Just to see how well they would do. Yeah,
but I mean, like I've never played Halflings before. Let's make up a halfling team and go at it.
Yeah. You know, it'd be kind of cool. I just happened to think of this when it comes to like a storyline. It'd be kind of cool to run a league. You'd have to have the right people to do this with, though. You got to have the right coaches. It'd be cool to run a league where 1 week everyone gets together and plays their games. Then the next week everyone gets together and does off the field, like what happens between the games. And maybe you roll off your head. Because there was some blood, like in the Blood Bowl magazines, they've got like you go to a bar or you train and learn stuff or different things you do. It would be kind of cool to do that for just a night, build up. Maybe you get stats. Maybe you just get like a potion to use or whatever. Then the week after you go back to your game and just have a really long league, but you get that role play aspect. That could be kind of cool to try out with the right group of people.
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. Well, Jonny, thank you for being on with us tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. I definitely appreciate it. You guys are, I'm going to keep listening. It's a great show. It's entertaining. And, everybody out there, not to push another podcast, but I'm part of the Zlurpcast. But more importantly than that, much more importantly, the Chaos Cup is the U.S. major, and it's getting bigger and better each and every year. It's in Chicago, September 15th and 16th, chaoscup.com. Very soon, I'm going to be posting the rules pack. Then soon after that, probably April 1st, which, again, a bit of a little scoop for your listeners. First time I think I announced that. April 1st, pre-registration should be open up. And the sooner you pre-register, the more cool stuff you get and the less you pay to get in. I'm thinking about 75 coaches hopefully coming. I know guys from the UK and Canada. It's going to be awesome. So
we're definitely going to be there. Even if I have to drag Scott up kicking and screaming, we'll be there.
You guys coming to Zlurpee too or no?
Nah, probably not Slurpee 2, but we'll definitely come to Chaos Cup.
Well, since I'm here and Extreme's not, you got to pick one. That's the one to go to. It is the major.
Well, and, realistically, it is the major, and it's also in Chicago, so there's amazing pizza, and there's a Chicago's Cubs game.
Yep, we're going again. So the 14th, I'll get a bunch of tickets. I think I'm going to, just not to delve too much into it, but part of the pre-registration, I'm going to have like a very extensive form. If people want to buy certain things, like buy a custom pitch or a T-shirt or old merchandise, that kind of stuff. And it's going to be pretty cool. But when it comes to the Cubs game, I think I'm just going to have to buy like 10 tickets and do like a first come, first serve kind of thing to who wants to go, because that would be too hard to plan. I want to buy them all together. So how am I going to wait till one by one registers,
Well, if it was like last year, the Cubs will just suck, and then we can all just kind of move together like we did.
Well, that's actually what I was planning. People were asking, are you going to get tickets? And my wife, who's probably a bigger Cub fan than I am, she's like, no. She's like, you know how it goes. Just wait till July, and you're going to get tickets for like $15-$20 a piece. If you buy them now, they're $50 a piece. So I was like, that's a good point. It happens every single year.
But it's a new manager. It's a new season.
Oh, yeah.
There's a chance.
Rebuilding. It's another rebuilding year.
Shut up. It's a chance.
It's another rebuilding year, and it's a chance for Blood Bowlers to get together and hang out a little bit before the big tournament. So again,
absolutely,
chaoscup.com for all the info on that.
Well, thank you again, and I'm going to see you on the pitch in our fumble game. We got to play each other.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Let me know whenever you want. Just text me, and we'll get it on, and hopefully I'll get some Wizards going and start kicking your ass again.
Wizards, you're giving me inducements, my friend.
Wait, was that Steve I played with the Wizards then?
Yeah, that
was you. Okay.
That was me when I had the Wizard, and you kept using it on me.
Nice glitch.
And I had an earthquake that night too. So
it was. Oh yeah, he had a real life earthquake, and he had a Wizard. I clicked on one of his guys, and it said, "Use Wizard." I was like, "What the fuck? Use Wizard?" And I'm like, "Of course."
And that was not a good game, because then I got to use it until all my guys were down.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I hope people were watching that game.
This is why Steve doesn't play Fumble too much anymore.
Yeah, it's a great system, but.
In Cyanide, a guy had an extra zombie. It just appeared in the end zone out of nowhere. So then I chatted to the guy. It was someone I don't know who it was, and I said, "Hey, looks like you got an extra zombie there. Why don't you just just put him to the side or whatever?" And he's just like, "It's kind of weird." And I'm like, "Okay." And then he just played with them. He just brought him on the pitch. I was like, "What the hell?"
That's fair. It's a dead dude. Come on, he wanted to play.
I guess. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for having me on.
All right, everybody. And you can listen to Jonny over at Zlurpcast.com, and we'll be right back with another segment.
What up, Sean?
This is Action Jackson, the Dragonfire League leader in touchdowns. You're listening to Both Down. Now, time for tournament talk.
Okay, and now it's time for our tournament talk, where we just went down to Bugman's Bowl in Dallas, which is
technically Grapevine, Texas.
Oh yeah, true. Sorry, my bad. Grapevine, Texas.
But it all kind of merges together in some big, like, Judge Dredd mega city.
It is Megalopolis. But for anyone who's not familiar with the area, it's about a 3-hour drive
from where we're at here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So yeah, we went down to Bugman's Bowl. They had a theme with some different weather.
Mm-hmm.
They just to kind of recap from memory, they had it was a 1.1 build totals, and then after you built your team, bought rerolls and everything, you got was it 120K?
120K in skills.
In skills. So however you choose, everybody got 120K. So. And
you can check out the full rules and everything at bugmansbowl.com.
Yeah, they have a nice website and everything else.
Yeah, it's also linked from our website, I believe.
Right. The tournament itself was hosted in Area 51, which was a very nice store down there.
Plenty of room, had nice stuff.
Yeah, so, yeah, it was...
Thanks for hosting us. Area 51, Grapevine, Texas.
Bathroom was very clean.
Very big.
Big, and it stayed clean the whole day.
To be fair, there was very little Magic players there.
There was no Magic players that I know of, but there was a ton of other role players.
Literally a ton, and that's just like 2 of them.
There was a few large people.
And I'm big,
well-fed
so I get to
people.
Say that.
Well-fed. I got called well-fed today at work. You look well-fed. And I said, are you calling me fat? And she said, no, I'm saying...
Okay, I'm not being racist. Was this by the Asian woman?
No, this is not.
Okay.
She said I was well-fed, and I said, well, I think you're calling me fat. And she said, no, I didn't mean it that way. And I said, well, if I called my wife well-fed, she would take offense to that. And then she goes, well, you're right.
My best friend growing up is Asian. He's Vietnamese, and his mom would always use that adjective to describe the heavier set people.
Well-fed?
They're well-fed, yes.
Huh. Well,
so that's why I asked.
I'm well-fed. Anyways, the bathroom stayed clean the whole time, unlike some stores around in our area where people pee on the floor and somehow get stuff everywhere. So hats off to the other Grapevine, Texas locals who was gaming there that day. You guys didn't pee on the floor, so
that might be their best achievement all day.
Let's see, there was about 20 people officially for the tournament.
20 people.
And the tournament was ran by hats off and big props to Jason Morrison, and his wife actually helped out. Talina, I believe is how you pronounce her name. And then Bill Zellman, or is it Zellman?
I don't know. You wrote it.
It's Zalman, so Zalman. I think it's Zalman.
Either way, it's Bill.
Yeah, and
nice guy.
Nice guy. They judged the tournament. They took all the stats. They were there to answer any questions. They were there to joke around. It was a great time. It was 4 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like to actually give a big thanks to Jason Christian, and Jeff Neal. They helped out with the designs for the badges and the logos and the websites and stuff like that. So.
And Jeff actually helped with the Zlurpcast logo as well.
Jeff Neal actually has designed the Zlurpcast logo, so yeah.
And we may need to procure his
talents in
making our own logo. Unless Scott gets on it.
Yeah, somebody's got to get motivated, right?
It's not me. I can't do it.
So me, Steve, and one of our other fellow friends, Brock Huffman, headed down to Bugman's. So we're going to break down the tournament just round by round.
Well, might as well tell what we took. I took my Ashfall Scorchers, my Amazon team, just because no particular reason.
I thought you took them because they won our Dragonfire Blood Bowl League. And in our flavor and fluff behind the league, you have to leave the league for at least a season to tour the old world. So I thought this was part of their old world tour.
There is truth to that, yeah. They did win last season. Was it last season?
It was the season before.
Season before. And so they did go on the little gallivanting and compete in this cup. And truthfully, they were painted. They looked nice. And that's what I wanted to take.
They were different. You didn't play them at Gas Cup.
Right.
So, no, they look nice too. So
thank you.
And I took I was taking actually the Blackwater Bulls. I really wanted to play Chaos Dwarves really bad. And I thought since they already have the skills painted on their bases and stuff from Chaos Cup, I can take these and kind of reuse these. As I registered, I was the first Chaos Dwarf team. As I noticed after that, there was three or four other Chaos Dwarf
There were
teams.
3 more that showed up.
And I thought,
On the list, anyways.
On the list, yeah. The BugmansBowl.com actually has a thing where you sign up and you can actually tell what team you might be taking. And so you kind of get a feel of what's going to be there. And when
I thought for sure I was going to get bashed to death because there's a lot.
There was a lot of orc teams and stuff. But long story short, I saw that there was other Chaos Dwarf teams. At the time, I didn't want to make up 20% of the field and everybody complaining, we got to play Chaos Dwarves or whatever. So I decided at the last second to take something different. And I was moving towards Kimmery since this Bugman's tournament. Seems like the theme for the Bugman's tournaments is that Joseph Bugman's traveling the different sections of the old world and places to find the best ingredients. So this time he went down
best ingredients for
Bugman's Ale.
Ah, yes.
So
hence the name
Bugman's Bowl.
If you didn't know, that's a fluff thing.
Yeah. So he was traveling down further south to, I guess, Araby or wherever it's called in the
deserts of Araby.
So I thought Cameron would be perfect for that. And then I was thinking,
but you just didn't have the spiky balls for it.
I didn't know if I could put up with 2 agility for 4 games. I was looking for something else maybe to do. Admittedly, I didn't want to play halflings because I played them 1 game and I won the 1 game. And I like saying that I went undefeated with halflings in tournament play. Even though that's kind of a wussy way to look at it.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't really count to me.
Actually, my halfling team is not actually finished painted either, so that's another reason why I didn't want to take them. So I ran across, I was at the local Walmart here doing some grocery shopping, taking my kids to the toy section, and I ran across these.
For anyone in another country, Walmart is the same thing that you have in your country because Walmart's everywhere.
Exactly. So we were in the toy section, and there's these little squishy, squinky things. They're like these little soft animal, tiny like gumball toys. Anyways, my daughter plays with them, and now they have boy ones, which is like Marvel characters. And anyways, long story short, I ran across some WWE ones.
Wrestling.
Some wrestling stuff, and I love wrestling, and I was looking for an excuse to buy a few packs of these. So I thought I can make these halflings and just paint bases and glue them on, or they can be humans.
They could be anything.
Or dwarves.
But they ended up being
vampires. And I went with I looked up, took a while. I was 2.5 weeks out, so I had time to paint bases and put flock on them. I did actually my best job ever with the bases.
It's a lot easier when there's not a figure there, huh?
It's a lot easier. And I found these little tiny like bead-like dice that I could glue on and then squish these little squeaky figures on there because they had a hole in the bottom of them. So you can just kind of place them on the base and they fit real snug. Anyways, long story short, I looked through all the areas where the vampire counts should kind of hang out in that area of the old world, and I finally had to just make up a city. And since I was going with WWE like a sub theme, I went with Stamfordheim because WWE's headquarters is located in Stamford, Connecticut, here in America. And at one point, their real name behind the name was called Titan Sports. So I actually went with the Stamfordheim Titans, and I found this awesome Titan logo that I modified in Photoshop. And so I was very pleased with that aspect of it. And then, of course, I made the darker evil characters, the vampires, and the other guys thralls. And I could justify playing vampires, and this is the silliest reason ever. If you watch wrestling, you know that the bad guys always kind of turn their backs on the other guy. They call that a heel turn. Or they're a good guy for a while and they betray their guy. So I accepted bloodlust as a heel turn. So anytime I had to punch my own guys, I was betraying my own guys. So
realistically, you weren't biting their necks. You were just
it was a heel turn, man.
Punching them in the face and
that's right,
taking them to the
ground.
ground.
Guy. So yes, exactly. So that's the team I took. I gave them some real fluffy names and stuff. And hey, we might actually. I think maybe we should for this because we don't play a lot of tournaments and there's not a lot around here. We might put our rosters up for everybody to click on and just kind of look over and see what skills we took. How did you design your team before we go into this?
That's a good question because initially I was looking at my Amazon team and I was going to go the basic route of, okay, I've got 4 blitzers. Let's give 2 catchers block or 2 linewomen block. And then 2 other ones wrestle, and blah, blah, blah. Just
try to get as many blodgers on the team, dodge guys.
Get the block dodge ones on the team, and then grab the ball and run down the field.
But you don't like to play that way.
That's not me. I don't play that way. I've never been I'm not a good dwarf coach. If I was a dwarf coach, I'd be probably the world's worst. Because
Steve loves to pass.
I do. I come from the National Football League background of get the ball, throw the ball to the receiver, and then go. I mean, yeah, could be running a lot in there, but I just like the throwing. So we played one game. We tested out my team versus his, Scott's, and
This is the first time I've ever played Vampires 2, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it's true. But I tested out my team, and it was fine. It just didn't feel fun to me. Because, like I said, it's not my regular style of play. I'm not there to grind you down and go. I just want to score. I just want to have fun. So I built the team for fun. I put Hail Mary on a thrower. Only had one thrower. She had Hail Mary. 2 catchers. Both of them had, diving catch. Both of them had diving catch. And then I guess I tested out this team of this configuration a little bit and decided that, I put them as wide receivers on the sidelines, and then I put blitzers next to them so, they could go down the field. Well, I realized that, my catcher is probably going to draw a lot of the attention, so give sure hands to my blitzer, and then they're able to pick up the ball if the catcher's gone. And if worse comes to worse, if I lose my quarterback, I've got 2 blitzers that have sure hands. I can pick up the ball and grind it down.
Mm-hmm. In play testing against you,
yeah,
I took out your catchers to take that aspect of your game away. So.
So I think that's where it came from. And then my last skill was I gave another linewoman block. So I had 5 blodgers. And
she doesn't have dodge. Oh, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Duh.
They're Amazons. They all have dodge, which came in very handy. But that was my thinking behind the team. Just, leave the quarterback, leave the thrower back, and if the ball gets tossed on the ground, pick it up, throw it, hopefully win the foot race and get a touchdown.
Cool.
How about yours?
I took the approach of you think you're going to put block. I only took 3 vampires, and I only wanted to begin with.
And didn't you get a lot of advice from?
Well, that's what I was going to get to. Is I started trying to create the team myself, and then I still wanted to only go with 3 vampires. I didn't want to go too many because I know a guy in our league seems to implode a lot, and he has 4 vampires.
He's got 5.
Does he have 5 now?
He's got 5 vampires,
okay.
And yeah, he tends to implode.
They're all great players if they work.
Sure, 5 agility, 4.
Well, he has
one
some
has
with
5 strength.
Yeah, he has one with. Definitely has one at least with 5 agility. Anyways, I only wanted to take 3 to minimize rolling for bloodlust and stuff. So I just didn't know really what skills to take. I figured dodge, block, wrestle, those type of skills.
I would think pro.
Pro. I read some stuff on taking pro so you could reroll those bloodlusts. I definitely wanted to take 2 guys with wrestle because my idea was this is kind of a wrestling thing.
Team.
So I want to take wrestle. In hindsight, even though I didn't listen to my own advice, I listened to somebody else's. That was like the MVP skill of the day for me. Anyways, I hit some of the forums asking for advice, just like I did with the Kimry team, just to feel out what other people played that have played more tournaments. I got some advice from, I guess it's Delvis, I think it's Matt Vanderby on the Zlurpcast forums. He gave me some advice on the vampires. And I thought, well, that's pretty close to what I was thinking about anyways.
And you were thinking, why would I take advice from this guy?
Well, I was like, you just never know. So most people in the Blood Bowl community have their same name everywhere. So I went over to the NAF and actually looked this guy up and see if he actually played vampires because he claimed he did. Well, he was the number 1 coach in America with vampires. And I thought, you know what? If this is the team he would play, all I'm going to do is ask, why did you choose this team, and can you give me some advice? So I went back to the forums. He gave me some great advice. This is what I would do. Some people wouldn't do this. And I wanted to tweak it. I wanted to give it an extra team reroll and draw up a thrall. But I thought, you know what? If it's good for him, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I just took his advice and tried my best to play in the play style he suggested. Some people might say that that's kind of cheating or going crazy. Do your own thing.
It's realistically our second tournament ever. So
It is, as much league
don't
play
know.
as we have and the league background we come from, a tournament is very foreign to us. So I don't mind taking advice for tournaments because I know everywhere else people are looking at other builds too, And in tournaments, you have very limited skills, so you min-max.
Mm-hmm. And I'm the type of person that I would much rather make my team for fun than to, what's the best. I just put together something that I liked.
Well, I figured I had to go with what's my best options since I'm taking a team I've never played before, and they don't come with a lot of skills.
Yeah, Amazons are lucky that they do come with a lot of skills.
And I was really hoping that, maybe I can win a game, maybe I can tie a game. And I went in with the approach of I'm not getting the wooden spoon. There's no way I'm getting last place. I'm going to earn not getting it.
Yeah, down on our road trip down there, like I said, we had 3 hours to talk. We kind of hypothesized what we figured our records would be.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure I said that I thought I'd get 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie.
Right, and I predicted 1 win, 2 losses, and 1 tie. And Brock, who's taking Wood Elves, he predicted going 3-1. He just had some confidence.
Well, it's Wood Elves, come on.
And it is Wood Elves, and he did very good.
He's a good coach with Wood Elves, too.
And he did very good in the Oklahoma Bowl.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we were thinking. I figured I'd get, demolished by one of the bashy teams down there and probably tie, and just some other random, if I get a bad draw and get a dwarf team or you get a Norse team or something, I'm probably going to get a tie out of it.
But I wonder how we did do. So
I don't know.
Let's break down round by round real quick with us.
Well, to start off, the grouping wasn't so bashy because, you decided not to take a Chaos Dwarf team.
That's true.
And then 3 other people who were signed up, only 1 came.
That is correct.
1 slept in and 1 had to work, I think. Or no,
one had a family emergency,
Yeah.
and 1 guy literally just called in.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm tired. I'm going to stay home.
Yeah,
so we actually had 23 people, I guess, signed up on the website. 3 more walked in, but then overall there was only 20 that showed up that day to play.
But overall, all good people. Didn't have any problems with anyone.
Yeah, before we go round by round, the Blood Bowl community in my short time being outside of my little play group that sits around my kitchen table or Steve's kitchen table, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We're all nerds. We all admittedly are nerds, enjoy the hobbies and stuff. Some of us love Blood Bowl maybe more than others, but good people. You don't go to a Magic the Gathering tournament too often and you hear people laughing and having a good
fun.
time.
Yeah.
In round 1.
Even HeroClix back when that was popular.
Or even HeroClix.
I got yelled at tournaments.
Exactly.
I can't believe you would help that other team. That's ridiculous.
Exactly.
I'm there to have fun.
The Blood Bowl guys are really calm. Just amazing group of guys.
Yeah.
We had so much fun playing with the guys from Grapevine or wherever they came in from. And a side note also, there was 3 other guys from Oklahoma, from the Tulsa area, that actually drove down too. It was Paul Wright, Chris Leonard, and Adam Brennan.
All big fans of the podcast.
The big fans of the podcast. They came to the Oklahoma Bowl. So we had 6 Oklahoma guys out of the 20. So we were like representing our state and
exactly
and everything. So
we got the nickname the Oklahoma guys or Oklahoma boys.
Yeah, Oklahoma boys.
Or just jerks. I think that's what they ended up calling us. But yeah, if we want to get into the actual matchups, my first round was against a guy that we've already mentioned, Jeff Neal. He was playing the Safri Swordmasters.
They were High Elves?
The High Elves. And that guy has some painting skills.
Dude, his team looked awesome.
Not only does his team look awesome and he's able to make cool graphics for podcasts and all, he has a standard bearer, and his standard bearer has his full logo on it. His logo is like the top part of a high elf with a sword and a circle around it.
It was amazing.
It was just amazingly painted. I was like, okay, this is why I don't paint that much. I'm not going to be able to do that.
I know. Every time I try to paint and get confidence, I see something like that, and I go, well, why am I trying?
Yeah, when we go to tournament, it's like, oh, my team's awesome. Oh, my God, I suck.
So how'd you do against the High Elves?
I was very happy to get a non-bashy team, first off, and I won 2-1.
Nice.
So a lot of that helped with, let me look at this. I got 3 casualties to none.
Wow. Did he run just a straight 11 guys?
I believe he did. So I just started hurting him and kept him down. And, he was able to get a touchdown on me, but I was able to put more up on him. So I was already very happy just to get the one win.
Let me ask you this. In Chaos Cup, I talk often that first game being really nervous. Were you nervous in this one?
No.
I was surprisingly calm.
I don't get nervous about games, really, because, again, I go in for fun. I don't really expect it. Now, we'll get talking about nervousness when it comes to Game 3.
Right.
That's an entirely different matter. But
Sure. My first round matchup was against Steve, and I don't know how to really pronounce this. Is it Dupuis? Dupuis? Dupois?
Let's go with Dupois. This sounds better than Dupuis.
Let's just go by Steve. He was a really nice guy. He had what I thought personally was the best painted team there. He had a converted orc team. He put nicks in their armor and painted
Those were
everything.
really cool. Yeah.
They were painted really well. They were brighter than a lot of teams, and I tend to like the brighter kind of painted teams too. His team name was just Orcs, which hey.
Now, are you sure that's an orc team?
That is an orc team. So
I kind of want to run a Norse team called Orcs.
Just to throw people off.
Yeah. I pulled an orc team. Nope. Okay, it's half.
Why are you named that?
Yeah.
Our coach is an orc, and he made us. I don't know. But so I played Orcs. We had a back and forth game at the beginning. I managed to score in the end of the first half to lead 1-0. I felt like fairly confident since I didn't take a lot of injuries at this time. Mm-hmm. And he actually lost a guy through a foul, one of his blitzers. He had my guy surrounded, so he took the foul. And he actually got busted on it, so he lost a blitzer. So I felt fairly confident that I could hold on and at least tie him 1-1.
Yeah.
And I was really happy, It's amazing how your expectations change as the day goes on, Before
sure.
I'm saying just get one win, I'd be happy, and one tie. So, and then he gets the ball, I get the ball the second half, and I kind of grind it out and run a cage and stuff with my vampires. Let me tell you something. Vampires, anytime you have a plan, they're probably going to implode, and it's very frustrating. I don't know how I survived this. I scored another goal.
It's very simple how you survived all these games because you just said it. You're a dwarf coach by heart. You cage up your players, and you go down the field. It doesn't matter if you're, dwarf or you're chaos.
Yeah, that's what Brock says too, but yeah. I don't know. I won 2-0 this game, so I was so happy. I was I got my one win. Definitely probably can get out of this without
especially
taking
against
the wooden
orcs.
spoon. Against orcs, I didn't take a lot of injuries. My vampire team, I didn't mention. I took 3 vampires, but I also took 12 thralls with the strategy of fouling a lot. Mm-hmm. And if I hurt my own guys, I had plenty of bench guys. So starting a new kickoff or possession, I was never outmanned on the field.
Yeah,
and
that always helps.
I questioned that at first. Listening to Matt Vanderbeek and stuff, but it worked. It was a great strategy. So round 2.
Who'd you play round 2?
I played Glenn Harrell round 2.
And Glenn also came up to Oklahoma Bowl.
That's right. He was a Nurgle coach. He has these awesome looking miniatures.
They are amazing.
That all these little creepy Nurgle guys, really kind of how you kind of imagine them, being. They're kind of like demon Nurgle guys because they have some wings and look like succubus and stuff. Really cool. His team name was the Powder Puffs, and he has what I would call maybe a control Nurgle team. He doesn't put block and mighty blow and stuff like that, but he'll put tentacles and claws and Hail Mary. So, and his idea is just to keep the ball out of his end zone, and eventually he'll somehow figure out a way to score. Mm-hmm. And this team gave me so many fits because trying to cage up and move around, he would place those guys with 4 strength next to me. And with just thralls, I couldn't ever get an advantage to move somebody out of the way and keep caging up. Yeah. I actually got the kickoff. He stopped me. He scored. It was 1-0 at half. And then second half, I was in desperation mode trying things. I was putting vampires out on an island, which you shouldn't do in case they get bloodlust. But he was forcing me to do something crazy and, basically saying try to beat me this way. Mm-hmm. And
you were like, okay.
With 2 plays left in the half of the second half, I had a chance to move up, throw a long pass, and hope my guy catches it to run in the end zone. Mm-hmm. As long as I don't fail any of my bloodlust rolls. And since with Nurgle they have disturbing presence and all those other things that really keep you from passing a lot. I had a exact lane just enough to get a pass off without any negative modifiers or anything.
Jeez.
So I gave it a try. I said, you got to win some. You got to try sometimes goofy things,
Yeah.
And he's like, "You really gonna pass?" And I was like, "I got to." He tried his intercept chance, rolled a 4. I threw my thing. The pass went off fine. I watched that dice roll. The catch I couldn't watch. I rolled the dice and walked off, and he was doing the math. He's like, "You caught it," and I was like so surprised. Got my bloodlust roll. We tied the game.
Jeez.
But yes, I was so fortunate to tie that game. Glenn is a fun, super fun player. He is a great Blood Bowl guy. He loves the game of Blood Bowl. He loves to have fun. He likes to win, you can tell.
Yeah.
But it's
Brock
playing
said,
Blood Bowl. It's fun.
Like Brock said, he's never seen that guy not smiling.
Yeah, Brock actually said that. He's like,
Yeah.
I've never seen that guy not smiling. And during all of our game, there was not any opportunity where he was down or anything. I even get frustrated when I roll double skulls or something. Glenn never does. So, I mean, to you guys down there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that have him as part of your league, because I heard y'all talking about him being in the finals and stuff.
We heard you talking about how you don't like him. And we don't understand it.
Yeah, we don't understand. No, he's a real asset to your Blood Bowl community, and keep that guy around. He's a super nice guy. I really enjoyed playing Glenn, and it was one of my favorite games of the day. Like I said, tied 1-1. I was very fortunate.
Yeah, my second round, I was very happy to be playing one of the younger coaches. He was a teenager.
I thought it was cool. We had two what I would call younger kids, since I'm almost 38.
Yeah, I played RJ Duhame, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he was Norse. I wasn't happy he was playing Norse.
Dude, I would think this would be a bad matchup for you.
Yeah, and he was pretty good. I mean, he had his Orf runners that had block. So, everybody on his team had stupid block, and I had dodge, and that allowed me to stay up. But he only had 11 players.
Ooh.
And it was second round where in between each game or during each game, just like at our tournament, they were giving away prizes for the first person to do something. So it's the second game. They were like, okay, first person to crowd surf somebody gets a prize. Well, I received the kickoff. He put somebody on the wide zone. I pushed him out. That was like the first thing I did. I was like, okay, hit, blitz, boom, out.
So what'd you get
prize.
For that?
What did I get? I got Impact Miniatures Beer Garden Beauty. It's one of
the girls with the mugs.
Beer Babe, basically.
Nice.
Bloodweiser Babe. Yeah.
Lovely theme prize for Bugman's Bowl.
Absolutely. It was very cool. But he was a good coach. That little mistake, if you want to call it a mistake, it's just he had a guy near the sidelines. I was able to push him out.
Would you have pushed him out if there wasn't a prize in the line? Would you have saw it?
Probably, I would have seen it, but I probably wouldn't have done it because it meant I had to commit 3 people to that side.
Right.
But my MVP for the whole tournament was my number 13, which was my Blitzer model that I gave block to. That was my 5th blodger. And I tended to put,
Who was really a lineman, right?
Yeah, she's a line
Right.
woman. She has block
Right.
now, so she's a blitzer. She tended to stay in the middle, and she did wonderfully. Because she was basically my person to blitz or, to move up and hit, and my kind of control piece. I pushed one of his guys out of bounds, so I had the advantage of people, and I think that was just a knockout. And then I was like, wonder if I can do it the other side, just to, give him a hard time about crowd surf again. So the next turn I got it, I pushed another one out just to do no extra second prize, but I tried. But I think that one was a casual. No, that was not as casually. Altogether, I whooped the kid's butt.
Well, the score says.
The score
is this right? 3-0.
3-0, and I Amazon.
Did you just get numbers on
had
them?
4 casualties.
Oh my gosh!
4 to my 2, and I really think my 2 was like later on. It wasn't early, but I was hurting him. He only had 11 people on his team,
so he was down to 7 guys pretty quick.
Yeah, I was doing my best to hurt him.
In tournament play, man, when you only run like 11 guys or so, that could be the kiss of death to you, or the most brilliant move ever.
I had 13 women, so even being down 2 people from casualties or knockouts or whatever, I still had a full team.
Right.
that helped a lot on all my games. But yeah, he did get a little frustrated, deservedly so. I mean, he kept trying to throw blocks, and he was getting skulls. As well as my dice were rolling that day, everyone else's were rolling just as bad. So that's where I got lucky. I probably shouldn't have beat him as bad, but I was able to because the dice were just helping me, and I was able to crack that armor.
As we know in Blood Bowl, sometimes that happens. Anytime you play a game with one out of 6 chance of complete success and complete failure, I mean, it's just going to happen.
Yeah. And when their armor is 7, just like mine, it's not hard to break it.
Yeah. So after round 2, we had a little lunch break, and we went over to the local pub and had a hamburger.
A very cold hamburger because they decided not to bring
ours. Yeah, me and
ours.
Steve were lucky to be the 2 people that they left their food behind, so they were both down.
Yeah, they were. Nice way to squeak the name in. But yeah, so we came back, and that was fun because it's within walking distance, so a big group of the guys went, and we all got to chit chat.
Yeah, we were actually talking, and at this point, Brock is 2-0, who went in our car with us. One of the 2 of the other Tulsa guys are 2-0. One guy's, I think, 1-1.
Yeah,
and I have 1 win, 1 tie, and Steve's 2-0. So we're like, man, the Oklahoma guys so far are really representing, and we're just happy to be in it.
And then comes round 3.
Round 3,
where I played Chuck Laughlin. He played. I didn't say RJ's team name, did I?
No, what was RJ's
Leafs
Norris team?
Longhorns.
That's cool.
And they were Texas Longhorns, the University of Texas. They were painted orange, so it was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Being an OU fan, of course, it was fun to beat them. But Fadekin was the Dark Elf team, and it was the most frustrating game I have played in ages. It was as good as my dice were doing the first 2 games. They completely abandoned me. And it was odd, too, because, again, I think on this one, I kicked off the ball to him and got the ball out, and I'm going for a touchdown. And all I need is a roll, not a 1, roll to 1.
Of course.
Reroll, got another 1.
Hey, that's the theme of the day.
Right into the end zone, the ball bounces, and it's out. So that sucked. So then he gets the ball, and he actually goes up on me 1-0. So I was, as bad as I was rolling, and he goes 1-up on me, I thought I was done for. I was like, there's no way I'm coming back. It's just
so you're hoping for a tie at the
at that point, yeah. But I was able to get the ball back, and I had it in his end zone pretty much. And I'm pretty sure I Hail Married the ball down there, and my person just had to go, pick up the ball, walk in. Would have been fine. Decided not to pick up the ball. So she's 1 square away from the end zone. He puts one of his guys by, and then he blitzes my girl away, puts her in the end zone, and I think he goes to pick up the ball and fails, and it goes right next to my woman. So I'm pretty sure, and my memory sucks, so this is probably correct, but I can't guarantee it. On my turn...
Nice retelling.
I know, isn't it awesome? At least I'm honest. But I do know on my turn, I went to go pick up the ball. Pretty sure I failed. But then the ball bounced into the hands of my woman in the end zone with the guy on her. Bouncing ball, rolled a 6.
Nice.
Got a touchdown.
Nice.
I was like, okay, I can't go for it and get a touchdown, but wacky crazy play for a touchdown, that'll work.
That's how it always happens, man.
So kicking off to him, and again, I stop him. I get the ball back. There's like 2 plays left. I, just for, shits and giggles, I'd sent a catcher down the field, or a blitzer down the field. Mm-hmm. No, it was a catcher. It was a catcher because she did not have sure hands, which came into play. Sent her down the field to the end zone. Like, I always play for the win. I don't play for the tie. I don't play to lose. I play for a win. Mm-hmm. So I have someone there just in case. The just in case came. I got the ball. I threw the Hail Mary pass, and it scatters, and it's about 3 squares away from the end zone. So he tries to send one of his people up there, and he's out of re-rolls, I'm out of re-rolls, and he's one square away from the ball, like just to provide a tackle zone or, put someone on me and a tackle zone on the ball. Go for it. Falls. I'm like, oh my God. So everything comes down to this last play. I have no re-rolls. I've got a chick with no sure hands. And it's just like, all I need is just to pick up the damn ball and walk in. That's it. So I'm like, okay. Go, roll, get a 5, walk in. And I was exhausted. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can ever play this game again.
That's actually the exact same thing that you came over and said to me. You go, I think I'm done playing this game anymore.
It was such a great game. He played great. I, did everything I had to win, and it just happened that I won 2-1. And that one, I actually got out casualtied 0-2.
Wow.
So, but again, I had the 2 reserves, so I still had a full team.
Right, that's nice.
But it was crazy. But it was so much fun and so great.
Usually the really tight games end up being the most fun games, win or lose. But they're so exhausting, dude.
Exactly.
They're just so stressful. My third round, I played a guy named Steve Collis. He was actually fairly, from what I understand of him talking and stuff, he's about to join a league. He hasn't been playing Blood Bowl long. At this point, I think his record is 1 win, 1 tie as well, but I'm not really sure. But he's playing an orc team, the Ardballers.
So another orc team.
So I'm facing the second orc team of the day.
Orc, Nurgle, and orc.
Versus vampire.
Sounds awesome. Glad it's not me.
Well, I was thinking, here we go. I'm going to finally get that bash team that's going to pound my face in. Surprisingly, I get the ball, so of course I take it. I cage up. I try to stall the half. I try to score on the last play of the half. I managed to do so. I actually injure a couple of his guys during the process, and it's 1-0. Then the second half happens. We had some weird kickoff table stuff, happen, and a couple plays later, his guy drops the ball and stuff. I managed to get in there with a vampire, hypnotic gaze some stuff, pick up the ball, and I score again. So it's 2-0, and I'm like, holy moly. There's not really enough time left on the clock unless something crazy happens for me to lose this game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to maybe get 2 wins this tournament. That's great. Something else happens. Long story short, I have a thrall that somehow I throw a pass to a thrall, and he goes for it in the end zone and falls down, but he has nobody around him. No orcs are close enough, so the next turn my guy pops up and recovers the own ball in the end zone. So I go up 3-0 and really skate to a fairly easy win. The first half was not easy. I ate up all my rerolls, but the first half I was rolling double skulls. When I did get Bloodlust, it rolled that 1. I would re-roll it, get another 1.
Blood Bowl is so weird that way.
And then the second
half,
half,
the games completely shift.
Once the second half hit, I think I ended the game with 2 rerolls.
Yeah.
So if you do that with vampires, you're doing pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
So first half, everything bad, even though I still managed to be up 1-0. Second half, it was just, everything was going my way and bad stuff was happening to him. So I'm 2-0-1. Brock, who came down with us, he had close games at this point. He's 3-0.
He was in 3rd place in the standings.
Right, and
I was in 1st place in the standings.
Steve's 1st place in the standings. Chris Leonard from
Tulsa
is 3-0 and second in the standings. Brock is 3rd place in the current standings. This is going into the last round, and I'm assuming somehow I'm 4th through tiebreakers and everything else. So the Oklahoma boys or the Orklahoma boys have 4 out of 4 of the top spots.
I think we were the top 5 too. So I think Paul was 5th.
It was close around there.
If not, he was 6th.
Right.
Yeah.
So, they sat us down before round 4 and they said, now listen, guys, it's 100% by standings. They didn't run the tournament like we did it. In the Oklahoma Bowl, if you made it to the final game as a top 2 team, you stayed the top 2 no matter when wins or draw.
It basically goes into a championship game. And the winner of that championship game is the champion, and the runner-up is the runner-up.
Right. And so they let us know going in that no matter what happens, we're going by standings and tiebreakers. So we're
Which
cool
is
with that.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
They said that from the very beginning.
Yeah.
They were just reminding us. So
it's not how we prefer it, but I mean, that's certainly fine. That's their prerogative.
As long as I know going into it, I can't complain.
I can't complain.
So
I certainly can't complain.
So I have the daunting. Steve draws Chris Leonard for his final game, which is Amazons
which I really
versus
did
Dwarves.
Not want to fight.
And this dwarf team had the
Death Roller.
The Death Roller, and what is usually a kryptonite to Amazons?
Tackle.
Right.
I'm pretty sure
and
most
dwarves.
of his team had tackle.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
because
you're
they
right.
were dwarves.
And so I figure I'm out of luck because I draw Brock, who has
the Wood Elf team.
The Wood Elf team with the war dancers you can't stop with sidestep and
the game previous to that, his coach tried his opponent Adam tried so many times 3-die blocks on the war dancers
and got pushes and
just got pushes and pushes and pushes.
It was very frustrating. I've been there, so I understand Adam's.
But then you
malice.
play Brock.
So I play Brock, and I realized that he's a Wood Elf team. He's going to score. And to be fair, I knew in some ways Brock's played in our league before, and Brock's little thing, always joke is that I can never beat you. And even the night before in the hotel, we played 1/2 just to get familiar with our teams. And I was up 1-0 on him in the half game. But I knew in some ways I kind of just had a little mental edge, and it's the same way in our league.
It always helps.
Somebody that beats you more, you know who beats you more. So you're kind of have the pressure on yourself. So I knew I kind of maybe had that, and I thought, at the very least, if I can tie this guy, it knocks him out of the championship. It keeps me around to finish good, going 2 wins and 2 ties. So I was, at the very least, going for, just to better myself and my record as a vampire coach.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't satisfied with just that 1 win and 1 tie. I wanted to get better,
Of course.
And I'm at the top table. So my strategy with Brock is don't let him have the ball if you can avoid it. So he gets the kickoff, and he said at the time, I think I just made a mistake, and he took the ball right down the field. So he says I might have made a mistake with his placement. He had a guy next to his catcher and stuff, but his catchers had block and dodge on them.
Mm-hmm.
So this is when, and all day I was been utilizing wrestle in the scenarios where I had to get the ball carrier down,
mm-hmm.
but didn't want to do that with my guy with block, because all that would have been is if on the block dice that would have been a standstill. They stand together. So I took the approach against his war dancers and catchers to use the blitz with my wrestle guys, because I just figured I had a better chance to get him down, and I really did.
You do, absolutely, yeah.
So I made sure to get the advantage on his catcher, and Wood Elf catchers only have 2 strength. So I blitzed him with the guy with wrestle, and I was so prepared to blow reroll even that first turn just to get this guy down and maybe
mm-hmm.
get the ball away from him. So it worked. I didn't even have to use my reroll. And then I grabbed the ball and I caged up. And I lucked out also. Brock had just 11 guys. He didn't actually occur a lot of injuries in his previous 3 games. Right off the bat, I knocked one of his guys out. And then, the second turn, I knocked one of his catchers in the casualty box.
Yeah.
So I knew by getting numbers on him that I could eventually maybe overtake him. So I ran the slow cage, as slow as I could possibly go, because I wanted to score on the last play of the half and not give him any time to score. His tree got stuck in the ground, which was good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I slow rolled it. Brock did everything right to counteract that pretty much. I mean, I don't know in his shoes what I would have done different.
Yeah.
So I slow rolled it, and he started plugging up holes, and then again my vampires started imploding on themselves. So he forced me into a situation where I didn't know what to do, but I started looked at the board. I started pushing all these guys around, where you push a guy into a bunch of squares so you could push another guy
mm-hmm.
back. And I managed to actually break free with my guy with the ball, and I would have to sprint twice to score. Or go for it twice. I'm sorry. Jeez, that's 2nd edition.
Well,
it used to be called sprint. Anyways, go for it twice. I made the first one. I fell in the end zone on the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Next play, Brock somehow gets a guy over there, picks up the ball, and throws a long pass down the field like a punt.
Yeah.
He throws it. It's a good play on his part. He made sure that it was out of reach of all my guys. So I blew my opportunity to score. And really how I thought the game was going to go is Brock was going to score in 2 plays. Hopefully I can score in the next 6 plays. And then he kicks back off to me, and I can hold the ball for the rest of the half.
Yes, Mr. Dwarf Coach. We all know how you play.
So it was 0-0 at halftime. We look over at your board, and the score was very close too. So
with the way the rankings go and the way the rules are, either one of you could conceivably win if we tie.
Yeah, if you and Chris somehow tied and maybe not got bonus points, Brock could definitely would have been the winner. Yeah. And I could have maybe squeezed into a first or second place depending on what happens. So he kicks off the ball to me. I cage up. I slow roll the field. I'm starting to get really pounding numbers on him. Long story short, I get all the way down the field. I get 2 squares away from the goal line. Actually, no, I was one space away from the goal line. Brock has 3 guys on the field. He goes ahead and takes this war dancer, dodges through a bunch of tackle zones, leaps through this to do a 3-dice my choice block on my guy. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I don't know if I want to throw 3 dice. I don't have any rerolls. I made him eat up his rerolls. He goes, I don't know if I want to do this to you because surely you're going to get a push and you're going to win the games.
Sometimes you have to.
So he chose to take a -2 dodge into another tackle zone just to get 2 dice on me, my pick. So he does that, and he rolls an explosion and an explosion with an exclamation point. So my vampire goes down. I thinking, shit, I just lost the game. Mm-hmm. There's only 1 play left. I have vampires. They're bound to blow up. And he keeps the guy right next to the ball. He has sidestep. So even if I don't knock, I have to knock him down. And if I do, he could bounce the ball to one of my guys that I don't want to have the ball. So I make some moves. I have some guys that want to bite my thralls. I choose to actually try to hypnogaze his war dancer because I figured I have a better chance at this.
Yeah.
I only need
just get rid of the tackle zones and it's easier to pick up the ball.
Pick up the ball. Well, I miss with my first one. So then I try with another vampire. Well, I missed that hypnotic gaze. So I decide to burn the reroll right then. Now, I still got to pick up the ball with another vampire that's down on the ground. I figure it's more important to get that tackle zone off of him so he can't follow me around.
Probably, yeah.
And make 3 rolls through tackle zones because we're all bunched together, even though he only has 3 guys. I get the second hypnotic gaze. He has no tackle zone. I get up my vampire. I close my eyes, roll the roll for bloodlust. I roll a 3, so I move right over. I roll I think a 2 on the pickup because I get a +1. I already have 4 agility, and then I walk in the end zone. He has 1 play to set up. The kickoff table didn't favor him to make the time clock go back or anything.
There's not one on there.
Well, there actually was. The Bugman's thing that said it moved forward was just like the real kickoff on the kickoff table.
It only moved forward, though. It wouldn't move backwards.
We had that come up in one of my games with the first Steve I played, and they said it actually moves back if you were on the last play. That was the ruling.
Oh, okay, I was going to say, it's not in the rules, though.
Right. So, yeah, it wasn't as clear as it seemed. So, yes, I win 1-0 against Brock.
Jeez. He
held the ball 1 play, and then he held it to pick up and punt it down the field.
That's insane.
So that's how you beat an elf team. You don't let them touch the ball. So what happened in your game, Steve?
Let's see. I played Chris Leonard, as you said, the Gray Mountain Rune Axes. And
I didn't say Brock's team name. They were the Athelorn Tree Huggers.
Yeah. But yeah, stupid dwarf teams.
I honestly thought you were dead.
I thought I was dead. I mean, I've got a decent number of people. He's got a death roller. It just didn't seem to work well. And he had 11 people and a death roller. So I was thinking maybe I can attrition him a little bit. But realistically, he's dwarves. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So, I mean, they're not going to move. They're not going to get injured. Nothing's going to happen. I received the ball, I believe. Yeah. And I went in. I was able to pretty decently dodge around the sides and get guy on the backfield and go down the field, and I got the ball, and I could have just stood there a little bit longer. I really wanted to stall and just crowd people around and wait for 7 turns, maybe injure one person somehow so that he's forced to use the death roller and he only gets it for 1 turn. I thought, that's the best strategy. There's no way I could do that. So
I saw the death roller on the bench, and I thought, man, if you could hurt one guy and somehow make him just use that for 1 or 2 plays, would be perfect.
As slow as the dwarves are, when the pitch is only 13 squares, it's not that long until they get to you. So I decided to go ahead and score. I had a decent number of people, so I thought, death roller can only take down 1 person at a time. And realistically, it wasn't as bad as I expected because it doesn't have block. And it just, like I said, can only hit 1 person at a time. So I'm pretty sure, and again, I was too busy looking at what I was going to do in the future than look at what he was doing then. So I'm not sure exactly how things all played out, but he scored right before the end of the first half, I think. Or right after the first half, one of the two. So it was 1-1. And then it just became a scrum. Like, the ball was in the middle, and he kept putting people around it. I kept pushing people away. I kept trying to knock his people down. He kept trying to knock my people down. And there was so many times, like the second half, he had the ball, and he's working the way down the field. Again, it's 1-1, so if he scores, I'm pretty much SOL.
Yeah.
He has the ball in a runner's hand. He's in the middle of people. I was able to get some people around behind him, and, I'm blitzing in. I'm making dodge rolls against people with tackle, but succeeding. And I am throwing blocks, 2 dice, his advantage. 3 dice his advantage, whatever I had to do to get that ball out of that guy's hands. And I would dodge in, hit the guy, 2 dice his advantage, and I'd get a skull or something, he'd take it. So I re-roll. I had 4 re-rolls. 3 of my re-rolls were used that way. So every turn, I was basically up his butt. Just, blitz, try to hit the guy with the ball, nothing. Re-roll, nothing. Blitz, hit the guy with the ball, nothing. So this whole time, I'm just doing everything I can to try to force him into this. And actually, this is before he scored. So, because I remember now that I was putting so much pressure on him, he was forced to score early, which gave me 3 turns to try to score the winning touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, no casualties. This game, no casualties throughout the whole thing. It's great for me. Doesn't matter for him. He's dwarfs. But I've seriously expected to get just demolished casualty-wise. But so, I've got, my whole team. I've got 3 plays going up against dwarves. There's a decent chance I can do something here.
All right, so it's 1-1 at this point.
It's 1-1. He kicks off to me. I get the ball, send my women down the field, draw his forces, split them apart. And I had a chance. With 2 turns to go, I Hail Married to my catcher, who was about 2 squares away from the end zone. And he didn't have anyone near. And the ball, I guess I didn't look at it. I put it 3 away from the sidelines and didn't think anything about it. What are the odds of bing, 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 out of bounds? Well, it happened. So bing, 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 out of bounds, and I got screwed. So it goes out of bounds, goes to the other sideline where the goal line is, goes out of bounds again, gets thrown in like 5 spaces, bounces to the sidelines. So he puts one of his dwarf guys there, and I have a chance, still have a chance. All I have to do is go pick up the ball and I think make one go for it. he has a dwarf guy there with tackle, so I wasn't even able to pick up the ball. Didn't have any rerolls.
So you ended in a tie.
Ended in a tie, 1-1, no casualties. So what does that mean?
Which means there's not a lot of tiebreakers points, as well as because we got bonus points for more casualties, or
more
if you
casualties,
won by 2, or if you won by 3.
So that game I won 3-0 with 4-2 casualties. That won me the championship because I had 2 more points than you, I think.
That's right. So what Steve is saying in the longest form is after they tallied everything up, Steve finished first.
Sure did.
He was the Bugman Bowl's champion.
Ashfall Scorchers.
Ashfall Scorchers, Bugman's Bowl champion. He had 226 points.
I didn't see how many, but yeah.
You had 226.
Okay.
And me and Chris actually tied with 224 points. So it went to...
And Chris was my opponent.
And Chris was his opponent. Yeah. It actually went down to another tiebreaker, which was touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And I had Chris beat by 1 on that. So I won second place, and Chris got third.
Which is amazing. All the Oklahoma guys go down, and we dominate.
That's right. So collectively, all the Oklahoma guys went 17, 4-3 for the week end. That's only 4 losses between 6 of us.
And to be fair, 2 of those losses are against other Oklahoma guys.
Exactly.
At least.
Yes, because Brock beat Adam and I beat Brock.
Yeah.
So
I don't know who beat Paul, but
I don't know either. But so we did really well. Paul took Best Offense award.
He was playing Slan.
He was playing the Slan team.
Go
and so,
I think.
So we took like 4 awards out of
and
like
Adam
6.
took Best Painted.
Adam did get Best Painted. So we took 5 awards out of like 6 or 7 awards they had there.
Yeah. And Bill was sure to give everyone a hard time about that too.
Oh, yeah. Bill, who's putting this on every time, he's like, is this award going to a Texas guy?
So third place, is this going to someone from Texas? No. Okay.
Yeah, so he gave us a hard time being from Oklahoma. He
Not
said,
us.
He
gave them a hard time.
He teased us a little bit about like not coming to this tournament or something goofy right at the beginning, but it was fun despite us getting trophies and going undefeated. It was a very fun tournament.
Yeah.
I do look back since Steve's bragging about he got a little Mikey award, which is
the Zlurpcast Championship Series trophy. I think the second or third one given away.
Right. And I teased Steve because if I wouldn't have failed that Go For It in the first half, I would have won 2-0 theoretically, and my tiebreakers would have been as many as him.
No.
I'd have had 226 points, I think.
I would have had more touchdowns, though.
I don't know about that.
Pretty sure.
We can look right here.
Look it over real quick.
We would have been. I would have had 1 more touchdown than you. 8-7.
I have 8.
No, you don't.
3, 5, 7, 8.
Okay. Well, anyways, I'd like to tease him that.
So then it goes.
I could have maybe tied him. It doesn't matter.
Casualties.
It doesn't matter. Steve is the Bugman Bowls champion.
I sure am.
So congratulations to Steve.
Thank you.
I am second place with Vampires. So you are listening to Both Down, the Blood Bowl #1 podcast with somebody that's won a tournament and the runner-up in the same tournament.
That's true. None of the other ones have done that yet.
Not at all. Not even close. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. We don't pay that close attention.
So once again, we'd like to just thank all the guys down at Bugman's Bowl. We know it's rare that we're going to get to actually play in tournaments because there's not a whole bunch of them around here. But we'd like to thank all those guys again, Area 51, for putting on a great show. Jason, his wife, Bill, thank you guys all so much. We had a great time. And if you're listening in the Texas, Oklahoma, any type of the southern area of the United States, you have no excuse. You can, if the Tulsa guys can drive there, that's about a 6-hour drive, so you can too. So next year, make sure you hit Bugman's Bowl.
And Oklahoma Bowl.
And, of course, the Oklahoma Bowl.
Although I'm sure we'll talk plenty about that.
Next year. Next year.
Maybe later this year, something else.
We might have another tournament still left in the chamber, so to speak. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with some shout-outs, and then we're going to wrap the show up.
Sounds like a plan.
Anybody got any more of these flies? Wait, what? No, what? I'm on. Oh, sorry. Quite a leap here. You'll listen to Both Down with famous frog lover Stephen Scott. Now it's time for more yammering about Blood Bowl.
All right, we're back for some shout-outs and some thank yous and everything else before we wrap up the show today. We know it's a little bit extra long, but we hope you enjoy it. And
Jonny likes to talk a lot.
Man,
although we'd like to talk to him. So.
But that's because he's really influenced by us, and I think he really has a hankering to really want to be on Both Down.
Well,
he wants to be our third wheel.
He doesn't have an outlet for his creative energies.
He's just got G-Dub.
Yeah, which he can keep. He can keep G-Dub.
So once again, I'm also gonna link these things up on our website when we post the new episode. I want to give a shout out to the Blitz magazine one more time. We talked about it earlier. I'll put the link up on the website. You really got to check this out. These guys are really enthusiastic about Blood Bowl. It might even give you some ideas, maybe even to just a color scheme,
something on your own, yeah,
or a color scheme, to paint your own team and stuff. So check those guys out.
And they do it every quarter because it probably takes about 3 months.
Jeez,
to
it's
put
120 pages long. Yeah, of course.
Know.
I'd also like to, and I might mispronounce his last name, Greg Kubley. I believe it might be his last name. I played this guy, and his username is Greg Kubley on Fumble. That's GREGKUBLY. Get a hold of this guy on Fumble. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever played on Fumble. We played in the 3-die block Highlander 2 League. We had a great game. He kicked my butt, yet we had a blast the whole time. He loves the flavor and the fluff behind Blood Bowl. He also loves to play Blood Bowl. We talked. We never had a sore spot, even when he was killing my guys on the first play blitz of the game.
Yeah.
Great guy to play Fumble with. So I talk about the people that I get upset with on Fumble, so I figure I better give a shout-out to the guys that do a great job out there. And
it's always good to know that they're out
ambassadors to Fumble.
We have heard, or at least I have, of other people complaining about finding less than stellar coaches on Fumble.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to know there are actually good ones out there.
Yeah, I played his Chaos Pack team against my Norris, and I lost 2-3, but we had such a great time. And
that's good.
Yeah, I hope I run across him again and play him again in the future. So once again, I know we did it in the last segment, give a shout-out to Bugman's and everybody down there at the Bugman's Bowl and Area 51, top-notch, fun tournament.
I had a great time.
It was an awesome time. I look forward to hanging out with those guys, whether we play Blood Bowl or not again. We're starting to make friends and connections in Texas. So
definitely.
We look forward to those guys coming up and us coming down there and really growing the Blood Bowl community here.
Okay. And I just wanted to give a special shout-out. As you may have heard earlier, we had a bumper made by Not Us, and that was made by Arthur Inkpen. He sent a few bumpers and have to clean up the quality a little bit, but still works, sounds good. And if you guys out there want to make your own bumpers, feel free to do so.
Yeah, it's real simple, guys. As you know, our bumpers, for each segment is the formula is as simple
it's real simple.
It's like,
and you can play with it. So
it's like, this is insert character name, position for the team name of your choice, and you are listening to Both Down. Now here is one of our segments, whether that's homebrew, house rules, tournament talk, shout outs,
or just something made up that you want to do. If you got an idea for a tournament, make one up. We might do it.
Exactly. So if you are a fan of Both Down, and you can create your own recordings or whatever for the podcast, please do so. Send them to us, and if
the better the quality, the better. But even if it's not great, we'll at least listen to it, and if we can clean it up enough to put on the air, we're more than happy to do so. Also, want to give a shout out to our contest winner, because we did put a contest last month for.
Was this the iTunes? Whoever rates us?
Yep,
and the
whoever
last guy
did
on?
the most recent iTunes.
Awesome. Who was the winner?
We lucked out on this because actually I was emailing the person at the time, and he was like, "Oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna, I've enjoyed you guys, and I just got done putting a iTunes review up." It's like, really? Because we're just going in to make a recording, and congratulations.
That was about 15 minutes before this recording.
So Andy Brandt, the man who runs the Rat City Rumble, really good guy. They just had their tournament this last weekend, and looks like it went really well. They already got the results and everything up on the website.
So he gets a pair of Oklahoma Bowl dice.
He sure does.
What a lucky guy.
He is, because that might be the last we have of those.
Collector's items.
Unless you go to West Coast Quake. And Dennis Boland's running West Coast Quake in the middle. Well, I guess March 17th coming up real quick. But we're sending out some
It's actually a 2-day tournament, so that's 17th and 18th in
that's very true. Yeah.
You can get Zelvis, the zombie Elvis.
Yeah. But he sent us a lot of product for our tournament. Great guy. Didn't get a chance to make it out there this year, but we'll be hitting Vegas next year for the team championship, I'm sure. But we should be sending some of our last remaining Oklahoma dice over to him, hopefully to give away his prizes.
They're going to be collector's items. And like to remind you guys that you can check us out at bothdown.com if you're viewing us through iTunes, or you can go to iTunes and subscribe to us. Either way, feel free to leave a rating for the show. Give us 5 stars if you think we deserve it. Give us 3 stars if you think we deserve it.
Give us 5 stars if you think we deserve 3. Just send us an email telling us why.
Steve doesn't want real feedback.
No, I want real feedback. I just don't want it to show up in reviews.
I just want reviews. So either way,
I'll take as many emails as you want to podcast. What is it? bothdownpodcast@gmail.com.
That's correct.
Just send an email. Tell me how bad we suck, how much you love us. Got some great emails from South Africa, from Australia, from anywhere.
Yeah,
so
keep all that feedback coming in.
Anybody in South America, I'm curious if there's anyone down there listening. Because we've gotten everywhere else, except Antarctica. But
we got an email from South Africa.
South America.
Oh, South America. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
So, keep all those emails rolling in. That's bothdownpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us at bothdown on Twitter. You can also follow myself at Fat Finley. That's FATFINLEY. And you can follow Steve
at Kilowog2814, which is KILOWOG 2814.
And just if you're on Twitter, follow all 3 of us. We'll follow back, and we'll keep the Laughs and Blood Bowl community just rocking.
Hopefully. Yeah, I've been tweeting out a lot of fluff stuff lately. I like to just randomly search for Blood Bowl and tweet out people who have no idea that we exist.
Yeah, I noticed that you're tweeting out like this is the Bugman Bowl champions, and you're not saying anything about the second place vampire team. That was just ran by the first time with me.
Not really true second place. I mean, by points, yes.
Jeez, our record is the same, sucker, and we played a pre-tournament game. We also tied in that, so
yeah, our record might be the same, but I'm pretty sure I have the bigger trophy and the other trophy.
You know what? In hindsight, I've been so happy with second place. I would have done whatever, and now I'm sitting here whining.
We need to have a both down throwdown.
Both down throwdown. Well, we might do that someday.
That'd be kind of fun.
Anyways, is there anything else, Steve, you want to cover? Because I know we've covered a lot this show.
Yeah, we've covered a lot. Again, the Zlurpcast. Shout out to 3 Die Block. They're going to be running a tournament soon. 3 Die Brawl. Don't know if we'll be able to make it up to Iowa, though.
Well, you never know.
It's a long ways to go.
I haven't done my taxes yet, so maybe some extra money will come my way.
Well, I mean, we know you're not getting money, but...
You don't know that.
Yeah. Other than that, I think we're good. If you have any content, send it again to bothdownpodcast@gmail.com. Bumpers, if you want to make a commercial for your tournament or a fake commercial for us to play, we don't care. If it's fluff related and it's cool, we might air it.
That's right. So, once again, check us out, bothdown.com.
And we will talk to you later. Right?
Yep, we're out of here.
Yay.
I deserve first.
But you didn't get it.
Both Down is a production of Couch Pirate Radio. Please drop by couchpirates.com to hear more of their podcasts.
Like Steve said, he said we feel like the judging committee. I feel like we're like the quintessence from the Transformers, where we're up here and you're presenting yourself, and we turn our little heads and go, finish him, or decision. Do y'all know what I'm talking about?
No clue.
Yeah, somewhat.
Do you remember Transformers, those little floating things? They had like 5 heads. This was after the movie.
Oh, that does sound so familiar.
After the cartoon movie or the new movies?
The cartoon movie. They were in the cartoon movie. They had the 5 heads. They were floating. I think they were called the Quintessence, I think, or the Quintessence.
Okay. Quintessence sounds right.
Or something like that. Anyways, they rotated their little head and they had judgment.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Approval. And I don't know. Bad reference. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool.
I'm gonna look that up, and I'm going to put a link to whatever I'm talking about on our bothdown.com.
I'll be honest. I'm not a huge Transformers fan, and I wasn't when I was a kid. I was all G.I. Joe.
This interview's over. Oh, wait, no.
Sorry.
Wait,
No.
G.I. Joe?
I watched them both. I didn't buy Transformer toys.
If this was Zlurpcast, we would keep talking about this, but we're going to stay on topic here, right, Kat?
You can talk about G.I. Joe. I bought a bunch of G.I. Joe when I was a kid.
I bought a bunch of G.I. Joe when I was adult.
Yeah. And I think when the movie came out, real quick, the most recent one, I mean, it was bad, but I had such high expectation because, again, it was my favorite toy. Once I heard Marlon Wayans is in it, I was like, Well, I guess The Rock's the next one.
Yeah,
so.
the next one bodes to be better.
It has to be.
I enjoyed the first one.
Yeah,
You
Steve
did?
actually liked the first one.
I mean, it would have never gotten a fair shake with me, though.
Sure,
So,
I understand.
You know, maybe it was good with a fresh kind of thing.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying I enjoyed it.
Yeah, they're wearing like suits of power armor. Like, come on.
Okay, my producer
All right,
Kevin.
sorry, guys.
My
All right,
producer Kevin just brought this up. It's Quintessence, are fictional aliens from the Transformer universe within the TV series. They are the creators of the Transformers, although in most other fictional universes featuring the Transformers, they have no such status. Although they have several body types, the name Quintesson focused on the Judge Quintessons that have 5 Quint faces with 5 unique personalities. I'm going to link that on our site.
See, you learn stuff here.
Hey, Johnny, since you were a big G.I. Joe fan, did you have the USS flag?
I did.
Did you really? What are you? Did you come from a divorced family where they spoiled you?
No, let me explain how this worked. And great. I'm so glad you asked this because it's a good story with it. So, you know, I would say we were probably middle class to maybe a little lower. So there was not a lot of money floating around. But what my dad used to do is the day after Christmas, our local J.C. Penney. Do you have that down there?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So I don't even know. Are they still around? I guess they are. But
yeah, we have one right by my house.
Okay. Yeah. And the one by us was part of this, big mall, and they had a giant toy section. And the day after Christmas, all toys, every single toy was 50% off. So it would be like a family tradition. Me, my dad, my brother, we'd all get up early, go out to breakfast, and we'd go to JCPenney's, wait outside, and just fill up carts. And it was like a literal shopping spree. And as a kid, it's like the best thing ever because we knew, we would get stuff we would never, ever get on Christmas Day or my birthday because it was half price. And that's how I got the USS flag. I had that set up in my living room. I was I was 10 years old, I think, when it came out. And I had it set up. It was like 7 feet long. It was set up for, I would say, like 4 or 5 days because it took me forever to put it together. And people were tripping over it. My mom's tripping it, stepping on it. And after that, it was disassembled, never to be assembled again.
Well, Steve just got one not too long ago, so I was going to brag that I got to play with one even as an adult.
You know what I made sure to do, though, is it came with the Admiral, and that was the only way you can get that figure was getting the aircraft carrier. Mm-hmm. And so that was, even though my aircraft carrier was put away in the attic or whatever, when I had friends over, I'd be like, nah, I'd pull the Admiral out, and I'd fucking pull rank on everybody. Oh, sorry.
Cred.
Should I swear on here or no?
Yeah, you're
okay.
fine.
I pull rank on everybody. Like, Admiral's here. And like, you got to put Duke, whatever, put him away. Like, with the sergeant.
I outrank him.
Yeah, totally. And no one could do anything about it because I was the only one with the Admiral.
Dude, I had the idea for Under Siege before Under Siege came out because I wanted the flag and I wanted Snake Eyes to be on the flag, and I wanted to get taken over by Cobra and then him systematically eliminate everybody, just like the Under Siege movie, and gain control of it back. And then years later, I watched Steven Seagal do this, and I'm pissed.
Yeah, but did you want Snake Eyes to be the cook, too?
That was Roadblock.
Oh, it was Roadblock.
Wasn't he a cook?
Racist.
Wasn't Steven Seagal Under Siege?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. No, but Roadblock was the cook in G.I. Joe.
You could say you had the idea for the whole movie, except for that part.
Yeah, that's where Hollywood took over. No, we're gonna make him the cook.
It's slightly different. How long is the interview going to be?
Until we're done. I don't know. We might talk
Johnny rambles.
I don't think it'll be more than a half hour.
Nah.
Nah.